and filing a false police report.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Case 2143, Simpsons versus McGowan Jr.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Simpson, you lived with Mr. McGowan for, looks like 7 years is what you said.
Yes, ma'am. It was off and on.
What do you mean off and on?
Well, I had another residence as well.
Okay.
And
it's going to get more complicated, I see, than less complicated. You lived off and on, according to you, with the defendant's brother, who is now deceased. Yes. It is your claim at one point in your papers that you and the defendant's brother were married.
Yes, ma'am.
He passed away.
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that the defendant owes you money. He was the executor of the estate, and he owes you money for property that he took from the house and for filing a false police report against you, I assume indicating that you took things from the house.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. McGowan says that you and his brother were never married, while he indicates in his papers there might have been some sort of ceremony of marriage.
Yes.
That his brother somehow must have told him that he never filed the marriage license, so the marriage was never valid.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, let's go to that for a moment.
Yes.
It's sort of curious and takes me back to law school days. And believe me, that really tests my memory. Were you at the ceremony where your brother married the plaintiff?
No, ma'am, I was not.
When did your brother tell you that there was a marriage ceremony?
I probably heard it just throughout life.
You mean throughout life for how long?
From the time that he had any dealings with her.
So about 7 years ago?
Yes, ma'am.
So you asked your brother whether he was married?
Yes.
How long ago was this?
I would say 4 years ago.
Okay, so 4 years ago, you say to your brother, I understand that you, what's your first name?
Mona.
Mona got married.
Well, so he gave me an insurance document, and I was like, wow, what's going on? What about all this?
He gave you an insurance document that said what?
From the VA indicating that I was going to be the person that gets the money upon if he demise.
If he died,
right? And
you had a VA insurance policy.
Yes, ma'am.
With you as the beneficiary.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so he showed you the insurance policy.
Well, he sent it to me in the mail.
Okay,
or email or electronic, and so I said, "Wow, what's going on?" So then I started to ask different questions, and he said, "Well, don't worry about that. We're not legally married."
No, you have to tell me. I said to him.
I said to him, so. Doesn't your wife
Isn't she the beneficiary?
I don't want to be involved in all this.
Right.
And he said, I am not married. We went through a ceremony, and you have 10 days to file the
marriage license.
The marriage license in Las Vegas.
Okay.
To solidify the marriage. And then he said, I never filed it. We are not married.
May I?
Just a second. Did your brother tell you that he had ever told Ms. Simpson that he never filed the marriage license?
No, we never had that conversation.
Okay, well, because you say in your answer, sir, that my brother was too smart for that, he never mailed in the license.
Well, he told me because there was a problem between these two. And so we talked about that, and he said, no, I'm not married to her. And he said, you have to file the document, and I never filed the document. And I have a copy of that right here.
Ms. Simpson,
yes, ma'am.
Tell me when this ceremony took place in Las Vegas.
April 2013.
Did you travel there with Mr. McGowan?
Yes, ma'am. We moved to Vegas together.
Who was at the ceremony?
It was no ceremony. What happened was I don't know what this is. What happened was we went to the Justice of the Peace, and the 10 days is not accurate.
No, don't.
I apologize.
Don't tell me.
We had 1 year to go to like a pastor or minister or something like that because we just went to the Justice of the Peace in Vegas. They give you a year to do it, whereas it's, I guess, what I think the term is officiant or something. Officiant has to do it so you can become married permanently.
So you knew that you were not legally married?
Well, it was legal, but it would be official if you don't do another step within a year. And
I understand that, but you never did the other step.
We didn't, only because he was sick, ma'am.
I don't care what the reason was. I don't care if he was watching Yellowstone or because it doesn't matter why.
I respect that.
What? You can get hooked on that.
No, yeah.
I understand.
So
No,
I
and
don't care what the
that's right.
reason is. You knew that your marriage, because it wasn't confirmed, according to you,
Yes,
within a
ma'am.
year, that you weren't legally married.
Yes, ma'am. And that
Okay, just a second. That's
Okay.
all I want to know. That makes my life much easier. Because, Mr.
I respect
McGowan, I
that.
want you to listen to me very carefully. Under what you told me, under the events that you told me, you see, you should have kept your mouth shut.
No, it's okay.
No.
It's going to be okay in the end. It's going to make a lot of sense in the end.
No, I understand that it's going to make a lot of sense to me. We're going to follow the money. But I just want to tell you and the people who are watching this that when I thought about your answer, that you said your brother was too smart and didn't file the necessary document within 10 days. My view of that scenario was that she could still consider herself his wife. Because if he fraudulently, in an attempt to deceive her, didn't mail the marriage license in, she would be the beneficiary. I'm just letting you know that. You understand what I just said?
Yes, ma'am.
Because he committed a fraud on her. He would have committed a fraud, your brother, on her into leading her to believe that they were a married couple and they had the responsibilities and the benefits of a married couple. But she says she volunteered that she knew they weren't married.
Yeah.
So I don't even have to address that.
And it's okay.
Just
Your
a
Honor.
second. I know where I'm coming from.
Okay.
So, Mr. McGowan, the person that you were involved in for a period of years, on and off, you had your own place, but he was ill for a certain period of time. Was your brother ill?
No, ma'am.
No. Just a second. He says no. You say he was ill for a great portion
When
of
I
that
first
time.
met him.
Shh. Just a second. For a great portion of that time, and that you were his caregiver.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were paid as his caregiver by the government,
The VA, yes, ma'am.
by the VA, to be his caregiver.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that would be inconsistent with being his wife, to be his caregiver. Because if you're a wife, you don't get benefits from the VA. If you are a non-relative and caring for somebody who requires assistance, you may get assistance. And how much was the VA? Just answer my question.
ma'am.
This is not my first rodeo.
Okay, I understand.
How much was the VA paying you a month to take care of, what was your brother's first name?
Marcus.
How much were you being paid to take care of Marcus? Because you say that one check you didn't get because of him. It's part of your lawsuit, so you know exactly how much you
Yes,
were paid.
ma'am.
How much?
$2,057.55.
A month.
Yes,
And when
ma'am.
did you start collecting that?
2014.
Woo!
Caption coming up.
You are a legal stranger, so you must have filled out forms to say that you were married.
No, I was considered a family member. I was no longer considered the wife, but I was
Well,
considered.
you're not no longer. You were never his wife.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Ramona and Clayfors.
Ramona Simpson claims her ex-boyfriend's brother, Cleefers McCowan Jr., threw out her personal belongings. Cleefers is countersuing for damage and stolen property.
Okay, so there was a reason why you didn't continue to solemnize the marriage ceremony that you went through in 2013, because you started to collect $2,000 a month from the VA in 2014 that you couldn't have collected were you his wife. That's a yes.
No, it isn't, ma'am.
Oh.
Receiving the benefits from the VA, you have to be a family member. You have to be related to that person in order to get this stipend pay. It wasn't a regular VA payment, and it's for relatives. You have to be a relative for that veteran.
What are you getting? Oh,
Yes, it's true.
Check that,
Full
Sarah.
of stipend pay for the VA, because we're both disabled veterans. It's not like I just had to do this. I loved him, and I cared for him, and he was sick the day I met him.
Just a minute, you both disabled veterans?
Well, my disability was not as crucial as his.
How much do you collect?
I very minimum, because
Which I
I'm
asked you a
30%.
question. That's a very minimum.
Yes.
It's not a number.
Yes, it's $300 and some change. But the thing is, Your Honor, may I speak, please? He was sick from the day that I met him, and I was taking care of him prior for that. This was his idea. because he was familiar with the veterans and the system. This was his idea that we can receive funds, and it stayed right in the household. We were living together. It was stayed in the household, and that's okay with them.
I thought you told me a moment ago that you had your own place.
No, not then, ma'am. Not then when we moved back from Vegas, because we stayed in Vegas for approximately 3 years. When we moved back from Vegas, he had purchased a home and everything, and it was supposed to be okay. We were going to be together. But he started living another alternate life, which he was very familiar with because he's introduced him to so many people. I don't even care about that. I still continue to take care of Marcus. It was no longer a romantic situation.
Now you still continue, you had your own place.
I lived both places because he needed me more there than he did when we was living together.
What kind of alternative lifestyle was he doing that he needed you there part-time?
He was seeing other people and
he was
stuff like
seeing
that.
women.
Pardon me?
He was seeing other women.
He was seeing other people, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so he was seeing other people. But you, let me finish.
Yes, ma'am.
But you continued to receive the $2,057. You knew you weren't married. That money was coming directly to you. It wasn't coming to him.
Well,
it was coming to you. At what address?
He was giving me a portion from his bank account, and then when we discontinued everything, there was nothing physical. Then I was receiving my full allotment at that point, but I was still taking care of him, taking him to the VA, taking him to the hospital.
Wait just a second. I don't care. Don't go like this and like this. He's a legal stranger to you, and you're getting $2,000 a month to take him to the VA.
Ma'am, he was not a legal stranger.
He was a legal stranger to you. Legal. He was not your mother, father, brother, sister, or husband.
Ma'am, he was a dear friend of me. He continued to be a friend, honestly.
Well,
and he knows that. We went to several places together.
I'm setting up for myself what is the actuality of the situation. Now, I understand that I was really not prepared for this scenario. I was prepared for somebody, quite frankly, Miss Simpson, who had been defrauded by his deceased brother into believing they were married. She took care of him when he was sick. And all of a sudden, now that he's deceased, his brother comes in, kicks her out of the house, and takes all of his property. That's the scenario. But now I understand that that is not the case, that you knew you weren't married, that for 8 years you collected $2,000 a month for taking him to the doctor's offices, to the vet, to taking care of him in the house, but you understood that he was seeing other people, that you didn't have an exclusive relationship. Now I understand it. And you did receive a certain benefit from that because when you moved back from Vegas, you went to your own place because he was having an alternative life that had nothing to do with you. At that point, was the money going to his bank account or yours?
It was going to his bank account, ma'am.
Okay. Well, you say that he notified the government. Part of your lawsuit is for 1 month's check that you say, or 2 months that you didn't get. And you say you didn't get it because he notified the VA or somebody notified the VA. I don't care who notified the VA. What I want to know is, with those checks immediately preceding Mr. McGowan's death, going into his bank account or yours that he had?
His. It was going into Marcus's bank account.
Okay, and he was giving you money from that bank account?
Prior to his death, yes, ma'am.
Right up to the time he got sick and died?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes,
and how much would he give you?
He would have given me $2,057. $2,000.
All right.
No,
okay,
you mean total?
No,
I'm sorry.
No, I get it. It was not what I thought, but I get it.
Ma'am, may I
please say money owed for the return of property. What property?
The property, which is my funds. I have jewelry that was missing and clothing that I never received because he kicked out his niece and boarded up the house.
Just a second. Was your brother taken to the hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
On what date?
28th of August, 2021.
Okay.
He was nowhere to be found.
Just what?
He wasn't around.
Just a second.
I did that.
Just a second. Did you take him to the hospital?
I had his daughter to call an ambulance. I got to Marcus's house, and I followed him to the hospital. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, well, you want to just answer my question? I actually understand the whole scenario. You understand that I do understand the money part. I get it. So when you say his daughter called the ambulance and you got over there from your house?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and who do you live with there?
My daughter and my son.
And in whose name is the lease?
My daughters, my son, and myself.
So all three are on the lease?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long have you had a lease at that address?
2017.
Okay, so we're talking about 5 years that you've had an alternative address. You have an answer for me?
There is a Veterans Affairs program of comprehensive assistance for family caregivers. It says $2,800 a month, but based on a fee schedule that can change. So the 2057 fits within the range.
And does it define family members?
It doesn't define the family caregiver, only that the VA may appoint someone who's part of the primary family caregivers to the veteran, but it doesn't identify who qualifies as a family caregiver.
As a family caregiver. And that's the act that you were under. But you were not a member of his family.
Yes, ma'am.
You were not a member of his family.
Well,
not a well. Not a well. This is not a well. You're living with your daughter, your son, on a lease since 2017. You know he's got an alternative lifestyle that has absolutely nothing to do with you. He was giving you the $2,000 a month. I don't know why. I don't even have to get into that.
But you were not that individual.
But you were not a family member. If this is for family,
it does go to the veteran to then give the family caregiver, though.
Okay, but you are a legal stranger to him. So you must have filled out forms to say that you were married.
No, it's up to that. It's up to that individual, the veteran, and I know how the procedure goes. It's up to that individual. I was considered a family member. I was no longer considered the wife, but I was considered.
Well, you're not no longer. You were never his wife. So if he filled out a form and
I'm okay with that, ma'am, because I could have.
Okay, so he had the right. You were never his wife. He had the right to board up the house, whichever it is, and you weren't living there for 5 years. You had a place. So if you had clothes there and your jewelry, what were your clothes and your jewelry there? If he was fooling around with other women, why would you leave your clothes and your jewelry in the house?
Okay, ma'am, the thing is, no one has came to the home as another woman in that home. I was always there. He has no proof or evidence that I was not there. So basically, I had their clothes there because I stayed there. I lived there.
Forget it. You were more than compensated with $2,000 a month. What's next?
Caption coming up.
I don't believe that you leave any valuable jewelry at his house.
I was there most of the time, honestly.
You don't need valuable jewelry if you're taking care of a sick person.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Ramona and Clayfors.
Ramona Simpson is accusing defendant Cleefers McCowan Jr. of throwing out her personal belongings.
Okay. Do you have any of her property?
No, ma'am.
Did you dispose of any of her property?
I didn't. She had no property there.
Just a second. I don't believe she had any property there either. Anything of value.
And I did.
Okay.
Can I?
Excuse me.
I did find what the VA considers a caregiver. So if you're a spouse, son, daughter, parent, step-family member, or extended family member of a veteran, or if you live full-time with them, or if you're willing to live full-time with them if they designate you as the family caregiver.
So technically,
if you're willing to live with the veteran full-time, you could be qualified as a family caregiver, but it's up to the veteran to declare their own family
caregiver if you live there full-time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she stated if you were willing to, and I was always willing to.
Okay.
Because
good. I don't feel as if you were shortchanged, madam, at all. And I don't believe that you had anything of value in the house. So your case is dismissed. Now we're going to get to the second part of your claim. You say she took property from the house?
Yes, ma'am.
What property?
She took jewelry, guns.
What jewelry?
Chains, rings, cufflinks.
Show me. Show me. How am I going to figure that out? You have photographs of things?
Yes, I have some photographs here.
This is so sad.
So sad you have to put a period and end it. You had a good thing going for 9 years.
Ma'am, the money was paid in the arrears, first of all. So me not getting paid for, and this is really not a big issue to me, what he's saying, because they're all lies, and I'll tell you the truth.
Just say, I'm not saying anything, madam. All I'm saying is you have no case, because I don't believe that somebody who lived in a lifestyle, as you've described, as you've described to me, which is you have your own home, where you're on a lease since 2017, where you said to me he had an alternative lifestyle, but I still took him to his VA appointments. I took him, and I was his caregiver, but I lived with my daughter and my son. I don't believe that you leave any valuable jewelry at his house.
I was there most of the time, honestly.
You don't need valuable jewelry if you're taking care of a sick person.
But can I see? I was stating we're also friends now.
I've decided your case.
I respect that.
Clayfors hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
This is just what had happened to looking for everything that was taken in there.
I don't care. Who cares? What are you showing me? You're showing me that the place is a mess, that somebody went through it?
I'm showing you
I don't
what.
care.
Okay.
I don't care. Prior to his death, when had you seen your brother last?
I had seen him about 5 days prior to that.
You live close by?
I was living in San Diego at the time, and he lived in Highland, which is 79 miles up the 15 freeway.
Okay, so 5 days prior to the 5 days prior that you saw your brother, when had you seen him before?
We see each other quite frequently. We have family barbecues, this, that, and the other. I'm retired. I go.
Okay, would you return these to him? These don't show me any jewelry.
Okay.
It shows me that the house looked like it was picked through.
Okay. Thank you.
What else?
So quite frequently.
That's it. Did you get a VA benefit from your brother for his insurance?
From the life insurance policy.
Yeah, that's from the VA.
Yes, ma'am.
And how much did you receive?
$2,600.
Who paid for his funeral?
I did.
How much was that?
$1,100 or $1,200.
So you took some of the insurance money and paid for it?
Yes.
Did he have any other valuable asset?
He had quite a bit of stuff. It's in probate as we speak.
Oh, so case is in probate
It's
now.
in probate right now as we speak.
Oh, great. So I don't have to deal with it. Your case is dismissed. We're done. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Ramona.
You know what? I have a lot of respect for the judge, but she didn't listen to me.
Well, I'm happy that the judge made the decision that she made.
He's a habitual liar.
Thief. My brother died, and within a half a day went over and burglarized the house.
This is something that he can laugh about, and he's going to go and tell the whole world that I'm still a liar. I'm still a this, that, and the other.
There is quite a bit of items that belong to me that this person stole.
That you can love someone and not be married to them. You can help someone and not be married to them and making love to them. I was genuinely there to help Marcus because I love Marcus.
The devil. You don't want the devil, the devil.
He barred me from the funeral. I didn't fight it because the respect I have for his family and for Marcus. I could have went there. No. I said, you know what? I won't be there.
I hope that she crawls back in the rat hole she came out of and does whatever she does.
Judy and Sarah.
You know what was interesting in that case, Sarah? When I read the complaint and the answer, I had a whole different vision.
Me too.
Of what the arrangement was. And based upon what the defendant wrote in his answer, that his brother, with regard to the marriage, to his brother telling him, I'm too smart, I didn't mail in the papers.
Read like fraud a little bit.
Right.
But she was in on it. She knew. She didn't complete the steps.
She didn't complete the step for a different reason,
Sure.
but she knew
That they weren't legally married.
that they weren't legally
Which
married.
changes the whole game.
For television damage caused during an argument.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, everyone.
Kevin approaches.
Case 2144, Paramount versus Morgan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judy turns to Jennifer.
Ms. Paramount, you and the defendant had been friends.
Yes.
And according to what I read, there was a falling out, which you will tell me about briefly. Subsequently, and without too much time having passed, you decided to conduct an intervention, a drug intervention, with the defendant.
Yes.
And it is your claim that during that drug intervention, she damaged your television set, and you want her to pay for a new TV. That's what your case
Yes.
is about. The defendant has a cross-complaint. She says she's missing some sort of a speaker. I don't know what that is. And for the emotional distress that she suffered as a result of this intervention. So I have a couple of questions, just preliminarily. How long have you known each other?
Over 20 years.
Friends.
Yes, best friends. Former best friends.
From a
now.
best friend. But there came a time, according to your complaint, that there was a falling out. And when was that?
That was in May of this year.
And what was the falling out about?
It was about our mutual friend, and
This gentleman.
yes,
What about your mutual friend?
he was in the hospital, and we were all taking care of him. And she felt adamant to tell me that I need to do certain things for him. And I was letting her know that if he needs to tell me he needs my help, he can tell me.
Okay, there were several people looking after him while he was in the hospital, taking turns. Is that right?
Yes.
And she was telling you things that you should be doing for him, and you said to her, if he wants me to do something, let him tell me, you don't direct me.
Correct.
Okay. Tell me the next thing that happened that brings us to court today.
Well, after that, in May, I blocked her. We didn't speak.
Did you go to visit him?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. And did you?
Yes.
So you both did. Okay, so you blocked her in May. Then what's the next thing that happened?
Now we're in September, and this was...
And between May and September, you haven't seen her?
Haven't seen her.
Okay.
And now it's September. It's Labor Day weekend, and our friend Brandon wanted to mend our friendship back together. And it kind of did, because we've been friends for so long. We talked and kind of mended.
Okay.
Okay, so I unblocked her. And then on that Sunday, September 4th, she calls me at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I guess she still felt uneasy about, you know, us not talking for so long, that she demanded an apology from me.
She called you early in the morning demanding an apology for what?
For basically just, I was in the wrong of not listening to her about our friend.
Okay, and then what happened?
So I refused to give her an apology. I said, we can move past it, but I'm not apologizing, which she got upset again and hung up the phone on me. And after that, she basically called a family member of mine.
Not basically.
Sorry.
You say that she placed a call to a family member.
Yes.
Okay, and you can't tell me what that family member told you because that's hearsay. You
Correct.
understand that? Okay, so she called a family member, and that was on September 4th.
Yes.
Okay, the family member called you.
The family member actually
Did what?
lives with me. So they didn't call me.
Okay, well, you can tell me the relationship.
It's just family.
Okay, family member who lives with you, and?
So she was calling that family member, asking for...
You can't tell me what any of that was about.
I'm sorry. So after the conversation with the family member told me what she said. I know, I'm not saying the conversation.
Absolutely right.
So I told Brandon what she said, and we thought at the time, let's have an intervention.
Okay, now, so without giving any credibility to any out-of-court statements, I assume by the word intervention, you had a suspicion that the defendant was using drugs or alcohol.
Yes.
Before that, before September 4th, did you have any knowledge of ongoing substance abuse with your best friend?
Yes.
Since when?
For a very long time.
Okay. Did you ever discuss the drug use with her?
Yes.
Well, you can tell me what those discussions were like. What kind of drugs were you afraid she was using?
I prefer not to say.
Well, you can't not say. That's what this is all about. You wanted to have an intervention. You didn't want to have an intervention because she was having caramel-covered popcorn. There was a controlled substance, I assume, that you were afraid she was using.
Yes.
Which was what?
Cocaine.
Have you ever seen her using cocaine?
Yes.
Did you ever use cocaine with her?
Yes.
Between May and September, had you ever used cocaine with her?
No.
So it was before that?
Yes.
His name is Brandon?
Yes.
Had Brandon ever used cocaine with the two of you?
No.
Did you ever see Brandon use cocaine?
No.
Okay. So you, who had used cocaine with her, decided to have an intervention with Brandon.
Yes.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an inbound call agent. I sell tickets.
Okay. And what does Brandon do?
He's disabled.
And who was going to be at this intervention?
It was myself, Brandon, and another mutual friend.
Mutual friend. Now, this mutual friend, whose name I will not have you state, have you ever seen that mutual friend use any sort of controlled substance? Answer the question.
Yes.
Yes. So now you have two people who've used controlled substance, one who has not, to your knowledge, doing an intervention.
Correct.
Okay, and do you know what an intervention is?
Yes.
What is it?
It's basically a meeting of the minds of having a discussion with one person about an issue that...
And who's there?
Who's there?
Yeah.
Oh, I would say trusted people that I would feel that they were...
Sarah, I want you to look up the word intervention and read me the very, very simplistic definition of an intervention.
From the Mayo Clinic, an intervention is a carefully planned process that may be done by family and friends in consultation with a doctor or professional, such as a licensed alcohol and drug counselor, or directed by an intervention professional called an interventionalist.
Okay. So what you don't have is something, I assume, this conversation occurred on September 4th.
Correct.
Was it on that same day that you decided to have an intervention?
Yes.
Okay. So let's start with the word well-planned, not as a result of a conversation that you have with somebody. And it's a well-planned event done in conjunction with very often relatives or close family who have a concern that something is out of control, some abusive behavior that's related to either alcohol or other controlled substances, in conjunction with a licensed professional where everything is synchronized, but managed by a professional. Do you understand?
Yes. This was a bad plan.
There was no plan. It was a plan made because you were annoyed.
Cardi nods. Caption coming up.
Usually people who are involved in thinking about an intervention have nothing but love in their heart for the person who needs that intervention, but they have a plan. You didn't have a plan.
Yes,
You kidnapped her into your house.
Cardi winces. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jennifer and Cardi.
Jennifer Paramon claims her former friend, Cardi Moran, broke her television. Cardi is countersuing for emotional distress.
Now, you were annoyed at the conversation, so what you did was not really an intervention. What did you think was going to happen at the end of this intervention? What was supposed to happen to her? According to what I read, you called her, or someone called her, probably your family member, called her with regard to these drugs that she wanted to purchase. Is that what happened?
Yes.
And said, I have them come to the house.
Yes.
Okay, so that's not a giant leap. You have to put that together. So she calls your family member for some cocaine. You arrange for an intervention. Your family member calls her at your request and says, come to the house. So that's what happened.
Yes.
Okay, but she was lured to your apartment.
Yes. Yes, I was.
Yes.
By whom?
By us. By her.
What do you mean by us?
They all said-
myself.
Ship up.
Myself, Brandon, and another
Well,
mutual
who
friend.
called her and said, come over?
Who called her?
Yes.
We were already going out. She was already going out with Brandon.
Just a second. She
And-
was already going out with Brandon.
Yes. And she decided to come to where I live to come pick up these drugs. Because when she found out that basically the setup was for her to get her to my house. So I told my family member to tell her that we did have it.
Oh, just a second. That's what I said. So she was lured
Yes.
to your house,
Yes.
where you were going to do what with her? What happened when you got to your house?
Basically just talk.
Not basically.
Sorry.
Not basically. You lure somebody to the house. She's come to the house now expecting, let us say, expecting to buy drugs or get drugs. She gets there and realizes that that's not going to happen, that there are other people that that's not going to happen. So tell me what happened when she walked in the house. That's what your case is.
Well, when she walked in the house, I immediately tried to give her a hug, and she was upset.
Now, you immediately tried to give her a hug. What did you say?
I didn't say anything. I just opened arms, and she said, no, it's fake, backing away.
It's fake. What's
Yes.
fake?
My hug.
Okay, so she backed away.
Yes.
And?
And it just started off with
No. Somebody had to say something to her. Somebody had to say this is an intervention. Somebody had to say why she was there. She eventually was going to say, where are the drugs? But you have to tell me what happened.
Yes, when she walked
You
in the
walked
house,
in, you went to give her a hug, pushed you away. Then what? Come on, this was an intervention.
Yes. So we couldn't even get to the part of this is an intervention.
How could you get to an intervention? You
Because
don't know
she-
what an intervention is.
Well, we couldn't get to a part of let's talk. She immediately said she was being set up. This is a setup with arguments back and forth.
Well, what were the arguments back and forth?
The back and forth arguments.
She said, I'm being set up. Somebody said to her, this is an intervention.
We didn't get to that part.
Well, what is the setup that she was talking about?
I don't know why she
Well, it
said.
was a setup.
It was a setup. It was a setup.
Yeah, so I want to know what your end game was.
The end game was to have a conversation with her so we can resolve our issues of why does she need an apology from me? We have been friends for so long. Her getting to my house, yes, we did lie and say, yes, there was drugs at my house. But she already knew from how we're all there that there was no drugs. She was upset. She was irate. She was bringing up the argument that we had earlier in the morning.
So this wasn't an intervention for drugs or alcohol?
It was an intervention for drugs and alcohol.
Oh, okay. Then I'm asking you, not what happened, what was your end game?
The end game was to have a conversation with her about how much drugs she was doing because it changed her mood. It made her angry.
Well,
it made
did you have a program for her to go to? Did you have a program to take her to? Had you spoken to a professional? Had you done anything?
No.
Okay. And when she was there, according to you, she was in your house with 3 other people?
Myself and Brandon and another mutual friend.
So with 3 other people,
yes.
So she was there with 3 other adults.
Yes.
And she was lured there under false pretenses.
Yes.
And what she did, according to you, was pick up a chair and throw it at you, or threw it at a television set, breaking the television set.
She didn't throw it at me.
What did she do?
She threw it directly at my television.
Judy shrugs.
Lucky she didn't throw it at you?
I wish she would have.
That's exactly what she did.
Just a second. You're lucky. You can't do what you did. That's almost like kidnapping. If you're having a serious intervention, you have to sit down, have a working plan, what happened, have the right in your heart, have the right messaging. Your messaging was all wrong. Usually people who are involved in thinking about an intervention have nothing but love in their heart for the person who needs that intervention, and they seek professional help in order to get that person professional help. But they have a plan. You didn't have a plan.
Yes,
you kidnapped her into your house.
It was
you
bad.
Can't do that.
It was bad. It was
very bad.
Yeah.
So you fix your own television set. Your case is dismissed.
But, Your Honor, I have it all on video.
Did she break your TV?
Yes.
I'm going to look at the video. Your case is still going to be dismissed. I believe she broke your TV. Show me the video. I believe it.
And I also have
I believe
the
that
pictures.
I believe that you're lucky that's all she did in order to get out of your apartment. Did she ultimately leave your apartment?
Forcefully,
Yes.
I kicked her out.
So forcefully, you tricked her into coming in, and then you kicked her out.
Yes, after breaking my property.
Okay.
Video footage.
Why would you like I squirt the dog? I cannot. I said.
Cardi throws a chair.
Are you serious?
I'm ready.
Are you
I'm ready.
serious?
Why am I being recorded?
Just a second. I don't know why you're being recorded. In any event, as I said, your case is dismissed. Fix your own TV. You have a counterclaim.
Yes.
And your counterclaim, I don't know what this speaker is. What is a speaker?
A speaker, you connect your phone to Bluetooth and you hear music on it.
Okay, so what was it doing at her house?
Shh.
We were supposed to be hanging out. So I was supposed to be hanging out with Brandon and another mutual friend. I didn't know we were going to stay at Jennifer's house.
Okay, I just want to know what, you brought the speaker?
Yeah, a speaker.
And you left it there?
I didn't leave it there. My things were scattered. When she was kicking me out, my things were scattered, getting kicked into the hallway.
Caption coming up.
When amateurs decide to do an intervention, any negative consequence that flows from that, you just have to accept.
But that's reason for her to break my stuff?
Absolutely. It would have been reason to her to break everything in your apartment to get out.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jennifer and Cardi.
Jennifer Paramon has accused her former friend, Cardi Moran, of breaking her television. Cardi claims Jennifer caused emotional distress after being tricked by Jennifer.
Okay. Did you look for the speaker?
Yeah, I looked everywhere in the hallway.
Do you have her speaker?
There was never a speaker.
Did you see a speaker?
No, I didn't.
Okay, there's no speaker. Now let's talk about your emotional situation. You got to this, I can't even call it intervention.
Trap.
Trap, that's a good word.
There you go.
That's a good word, thank you. And tell me what happened when you got there.
When I got there, I asked her family member to come downstairs.
Okay, Ms. Moran, you walk in the door.
Yes.
And there's no question that you were tricked and that this was a trap.
Yes.
That's what it was.
I realized that maybe 1 minute. Okay.
That's what it was. Got in there, and it was an uneasy feeling. You realized that it was a trick to get you there. It was a trap. I want you to tell me what happened when you got inside.
Jennifer starts to walk up to me, like, with her arms open, real slow motion, like, Cardi, I'm sorry. You know, we should talk about this. We're friends. In that same tone. And I'm like, yo, really, you're being fake. I don't really want this. You know, I came here to get what I wanted, and let's go. But Brandon is getting all comfortable. He is disabled, so, you know, all right, fine. He's got to get comfortable. So we start arguing, me and Jennifer, we start arguing.
About what?
About the conversation that me and her had earlier. You know, she said that I should just get over what she said initially for me getting upset.
Okay, so the initial conversation didn't have anything to do with drugs?
We never talked about drugs. When I got to the house, I never had anything to do with them. I was talking to the family member, what I came to get. Then once me and her start arguing, I tell Brandon, like, all right, can we go now? Like, are we done here? Like, let's leave. I want to go.
So what happened? When you said to Brandon, let's go, I want to get out of here, what happened?
She squirts me with a water gun. She tells me, oh, I'm gonna squirt you like I squirt the dogs.
Brandon, stand up. Your last name is?
Milner.
I want you to describe this water gun.
To be honest, Judge, I don't remember seeing a water gun.
It's in the video. If you listen to the video, she says it. I'm gonna squirt you
Brandon,
like I squirt
before I
the
look
dogs.
at this again, you were there in the room.
Yes.
I'm going to give you one before I look at the video again. Whether you saw her squirt the water gun or not, did you see a water gun that day?
No, I didn't.
No, okay. So let's play this and let me hear what you're referring to.
I squirt you like I squirt the dog. I cannot. I said not. Jack, are you serious?
Okay, Sarah, you have a much more keen sense of hearing than I do.
I'm going to squirt you like I squirt that dog.
Okay. She's got younger ears than I do. What?
I never squirted her with the
Whether you did or not, are you telling me that
No, I
that
said
Sarah
it.
heard? Okay, so you did squirt.
But I
you
didn't
say
squirt
it.
her.
I'm going to squirt you like I squirt the dog. Okay, but that's not an intervention.
We were arguing at that point. It was already past the
That's because you lured her there.
intervention.
Because you did the wrong thing.
Yeah, it was a horrible plan. It was horrible.
Oh, yeah, they're absolutely right. And it caused a great deal of distress. I want to know how you got out of the apartment.
I was kicked out. I was pushed out. My things were thrown into the hallway.
At what point did that happen? Is that after?
Literally 3 seconds after.
After the TV was broken?
Yes.
You were pushed out the door?
Yes.
Well, that's some really good intervention. How long were you in the house?
A total 6 minutes, maybe.
Where did you go from there?
I got picked up and went home.
Got picked up by whom?
2 hours later by my sister-in-law.
Don't make anything up.
No.
Who picked you up?
My sister-in-law.
Okay.
And my daughter and her boyfriend.
In that 2-hour period,
Yes.
you must have waited somewhere for that.
Yes, I waited in her hallway.
Okay, so you waited. When they came to pick you up, was there any further conversation with her or Brandon? They just picked you up?
Well, between those 2 hours, there was conversations between my daughter and Brandon, my daughter and Jennifer. Everyone was talking.
Well, where was your daughter?
She was home.
So it was on the phone that they were talking?
Yes, and she was pleading with them to give me my stuff back so I could just leave.
The cross-complaint, or the countersuit, is seeking $1,800. It's seeking $1,800 not only for the emotional distress that was caused to the defendant, but also for a speaker. They don't have a speaker. How much was the speaker so that I can deduct that?
It was $129.
Okay, so we're really talking about $1,700. Okay, and that's the amount that you want for your emotional distress.
Yes, Your Honor.
For that 6 minutes. I don't blame you. I think it's worth at least that. I think that when amateurs decide for all the wrong reasons to do an intervention, any negative consequence that flows from that, you just have to accept.
But that's reason for her to break my stuff?
Absolutely. It would have been reason to her to break everything in your apartment to get out. Absolutely. You are holding her there. Yes, just a second. You brought her there under false pretenses. That's what you did. And you had somebody else there as well. And according to you, you wrote it was an intervention. But it wasn't an intervention. It was whether you wanted to.
For a 20-year relationship, intervention may be a wrong
well,
word.
It was a very,
very
wrong word, and you don't trick somebody to come to your house with something else in mind, even if it's to buy drugs. So I'm awarding you $1,700 on the counterclaim for your emotional distress. Your claim for the broken TV is dismissed. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I have no thoughts.
I'm happy with her decision, but it's bittersweet because these are my friends.
Just have a conversation about certain situations we were having.
Her intention, I don't think it was to make me stop doing what they all do anyway.
I didn't keep her, that's the thing. She walked in freely, walked out.
That's the betrayal.
Yeah, this is over.
It's just time to go separate ways. You know, I lived and I learned those are the people that I grew up with. You know, those turn-up days are over anyway, so.
Sarah.
I think this whole situation was a perfect example of what my dad calls lack of two-step thinking.
Okay.
So we can already agree the intentions were not great. They were just maybe potentially rekindling a friendship, and that's not exactly the person you want leading your intervention, if that's what they wanted to call it. And also, what was your plan?
For the costs of a French bulldog.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches Judge Judy.
Hello, Judge. Case 2120, Jones versus Caldwell.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judy turns to Jasmine.
Ms. Jones, you and the defendant were in a romantic relationship that
Yes.
started about a year ago, more
Yes.
than a year ago. And then you decided to do one of the most foolish things that people do when they sort of fall in love, sometimes temporarily. You decided to buy a dog together. According to you, the relationship went south, and now we have this adorable dog that you want back. You say the dog is really yours. You were the one who was its primary caretaker. You paid for a vet bill. Mr. Caldwell said that's not the case. The dog was always supposed to be his. He purchased it. And it's your argument that if Mr. Caldwell is allowed to keep the dog, that you be reimbursed for the vet bills that you paid.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you and Mr. Caldwell live together?
Yes.
From when to when?
From February 1st of this year to September 3rd.
And in what month did you decide to get the dog's name is Scrappy?
Yes.
Scrappy.
We got Scrappy on January 18th.
So before you moved in together?
Yes.
Where were you living?
I was going back and forth from my mom's house to Joshua's. I already had a key in January. I was staying
Okay,
there.
but you were living with your mother.
Yes.
In January.
Yes.
And who was the breeder of this dog? Did you buy the dog from the breeder or from?
From the breeder, Andrew.
Now, Andrew was sitting over there on the defendant's side, so I assume that Andrew was a friend of your boyfriend's.
Yes.
Stand up, Andrew.
Frederick holds Scrappy.
I have a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
That's Scrappy.
Yes.
Scrappy is about 8 months old?
He just hit a year about 2-3 weeks ago.
Oh, so still a puppy.
Yes.
Looks very healthy. When Scrappy was purchased, was the amount paid for him the same as was paid for the other dogs in Scrappy's litter?
No.
How many puppies were in the litter?
5.
Did you charge Mr. Caldwell or Miss Jones for Scrappy?
Mr. Caldwell,
How much did you charge him?
$3,000, Your Honor.
Who paid you?
Joshua.
Mr. Caldwell, did he pay by check or cash?
Cash and Zelle payments.
Did you ever see Miss Jones in the purchasing process?
Yes, I seen her.
Tell me about it.
At the time when they came to pick up the dog, she was his girlfriend, but there was no connection with me. And
Was that the
dog.
first time you had met her?
I've seen her around because we would work at the gym together. We're both personal trainers, so I would see her around the gym sometimes.
Had you discussed with your friend Joshua
Yes.
while you were working with him in your personal training at the gym? Had you discussed with him getting a dog?
Yes.
When?
I can't recall the exact date, but I know that he had seen that I had bought my dog and that I was getting into the business. So he contacted me early in, say, 2020, stating that, hey, I want to eventually, when you have a litter, get one of your dogs from you.
Do you remember what month that was in?
I'd say, well, Scrap was born October 2021. So around then, maybe a couple months before when I let him know that the female was pregnant. So maybe around July, August.
Okay, of 2021.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so that was well before the two of you lived together.
Yes.
Did you ever hear from Miss Jones? Did she ever call you before you saw her when they both came to pick up Scrappy?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, you can sit down now. Cute. Miss Jones, who paid for Scrappy?
Me and Joshua.
Show me.
Jasmine produces a document.
I have here Zelle and Venmo payments to Joshua. The first one is in February, and then he didn't start asking me for large amounts.
Hold on one second. Hold on.
Judy reviews it.
These don't look like anything like payments for the dog. What are those payments? $100, $500, $350 in June. What were those for?
They were all payments towards Scrappy. He started asking me for $200, $350 at
You mean
that
after
time.
you already had the dog?
Yeah.
Because you got the dog.
Yeah, but he didn't pay for him straight up. And his friend told us that we could pay for him at will. He didn't give him money the first day that we picked him up.
Okay, I'll go back to you. How much money did Mr. Caldwell pay on the day he picked up the dog?
$0.
When was the first time he made a payment? Now you can stand up again.
Frederick rises.
He made a payment shortly after, within the first month, of about $300.
So in January, he made first payment.
Of $300.
And in January, there is no Zelle payment from you at all. When was the next payment? Do you recall?
I believe in March he paid another $200.
Well, do you have records of what you paid, sir?
Yes.
I'd like to see them. I just want to see what you paid and when you paid it. By the way, while he's looking for that, when you lived with Mr. Caldwell, did you both contribute to the rent?
My contribution to the rent was paying for the groceries, so I have all my receipts.
So the answer is you did not pay rent.
That was our deal.
But the answer is you did not pay rent.
No, ma'am.
Did you pay any utilities?
Only when he asked me for extra money to pay his phone bill or to pay for the Wi-Fi sometimes.
And when you paid for these extra things, Wi-Fi or his phone bill, did you pay by cash or did you pay by?
The extra charges in there that I didn't highlight. The ones that are $20, $30, those are for gas. The $70 one is for his card.
Well, I just want to know how you know the payment in July for $200, what it was for.
I was only giving him money at that time. For Scrappy, he started asking me for large amounts of money for him. So that's when I gave him those. He didn't ask me for anything towards bills for that apartment.
Is Scrappy totally paid for?
No.
How much is owed?
$2,300.
So the only amount that was paid so far was $700.
Yes, Your Honor.
Caption coming up.
This is what happens, because relationships come and go. You know, 50% of the marriages in this country fail. So why would you think a relationship is going to last as long as a French bulldog?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jasmine, Joshua, and Frederick.
Jasmine Jones claims her ex-boyfriend, Joshua Caldwell, owes for the costs of a French bulldog. Joshua is countersuing for vandalism and an assault. Okay, and this is an agreement that I, Joshua Caldwell, have agreed to buy Kashmir.
That was his name originally.
From Frederick Wright. Once the dog's paid in full, I will receive full ownership rights. Frederick Wright will remain the rightful owner of Kashmir until I complete $3,000 in payments, right?
Correct.
And both of you signed this, and this was in January of 2022. That's a reasonable. What are you laughing at?
I'm not laughing. I'm just like, when did he even sign that? Because I was with him the day that we picked him up, and he never showed me any contract.
Well, but this is reasonable because he's not transferring any rights to him. He's going to remain the owner. He's the owner of the dog until the full amount is paid for the dog of $3,000. Right now, he said that the only thing was paid was $700. Go ahead. Now I'll hear you. Now I got it. Now you can sit down.
When I was present for us picking up Scrappy and purchasing him, it was word of mouth contract. There was no paper signing at all. He didn't even show me a paper.
And
he showed me him. He asked me if I liked him. I said yes. And he said he would go half on him with me.
Okay.
And I said, okay. And it was that same day. I get off of work, he picks me up, we go see Scrappy. Didn't know we were gonna get him that day. We ended up getting him that day. He tells me, okay, it's just gonna be $3,500. They walk to the back of the room and start talking and making an agreement. Come back out.
So just a second. So they went in the back of the room. You were not there. That's what you just told me. They went in the back to make an agreement, and then they came out. That's what.
Whitney.
He tells me it's going to be $3,500. They walk to the back of the room, make an agreement.
Right. Go ahead.
And then he comes back and we take Scrappy home. The next day, he texts me early in the morning and tells me that Scrappy might have gotten a bee sting or something because he was limping and he doesn't know what happened. I picked him up from his job that afternoon after I got off of work.
Okay, so you picked up the dog from his work.
Yes, picked him up and I went straight to my mom's house to get clothes because I was going back to his house. And I was examining Scrappy, no swollen paw, no bee sting. Then he said that he probably clipped his nail on the tile, and I'm just like looking at his paw, and I'm like, there's nothing wrong with it, but he's limping. those were his stories. Still don't know what happened. Scrappy wasn't showing any signs of like pain. He was just limping. So I was like, we need to take him to the vet. Like he needs to get.
So you took him to the vet. Okay,
Yes.
and
The vet ended up telling us that he had a fracture.
you can't tell me what the vet told you. I'll look at the records from the vet.
Okay, sorry. I have the vet bills and the reports right here.
Jasmine hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Did you pay any part of these vet bills, sir?
Yes.
Which parts?
I didn't have any record of it because I didn't see it coming. I honestly didn't know what happened to his elbow. Andrew was there as well. We were both kind of like, we don't know. So I found out after going to the vet that Frenchies have a ligament in their elbow, and this happens often.
No one is suggesting that anyone abused the dog.
Okay. Oh, I'll just.
That's not the suggestion. My question was a simple one. Did you pay any of these vet bills? They're
Yes.
about $1,600.
Yes. I just don't
How much
have
did you
any
pay?
record of it.
What?
'cause
He's lying.
I didn't ask you to interrupt. You have to understand, Miss Jones, you can't have this dog. First of all, this dog doesn't belong to either one of you. This dog belongs to him until the dog is paid for. So far, all he's gotten for the dog is $700. $500 of that he paid for. But right now, I can't award ownership of the dog, but there's a contract that until this dog is paid for, the dog belongs to Mr. Wright. First name?
Frederick.
Frederick. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Simple. So you have a friend who has Frenchies, then I suggest that you go with your original plan, which is to buy a dog yourself.
Not
Now,
the same.
you have no proof that you paid any of these vet bills.
I just have the medicine with my name on it.
Well, the medicine with your name on it doesn't help. $1,600 in vet bills. And you have physical custody of the dog now, right?
Right.
And your agreement with Mr. Wright is that you don't get ownership of that dog until the dog is paid for. Yeah, I mean, I can't enforce your contract with regard to Miss Jones. The dog was not paid for.
I've already offered to pay him for the remainder of whatever Josh hasn't paid him.
The contract is with Mr. Caldwell, not you. So that's what happened when foolish young people decide to own a dog together. And they're not married, they don't even live together. This is what happens, because relationships come and go. You know, 50% of the marriages in this country fail. So why would you think a relationship is going to last as long as a French bulldog? It's sort of ridiculous, and I've advised against it for the last 25 years. Nobody wants to heed this. So I'm faced with a situation where, when did the two of you break up?
I left on September 3rd.
Well, now we're a couple of months, but...
She didn't leave. She had to be, well, this is going to go into the assault charge.
I don't...
But
listen,
she had
I
to
don't
be
care.
escorted
I don't care, whatever. If,
I
don't care. You want
clothes.
Shh. I'll get to the counterclaim in a second. I will give it the same attention as I've given her claim for the dog. She's not getting the dog back. You have to, however, pay her the $1,600 that she paid for the vet. Do you understand? So that part of your petition is granted. Was the bill all paid?
I'm still paying it off currently. We both agreed to apply for care credit together, and whoever...
But it's your bill that you have to pay. If you work in accounting, you have a check, you don't want that garnished, so you have to pay it.
I am paying it.
You have to pay it. Okay. And he's going to reimburse you for that, $1,600. All right, now let's get to this counterclaim and make short shrift of it. Money owed for assault and vandalizing personal belongings. Let's start with the assault. Allegedly, the assault took place when the plaintiff came home intoxicated.
I'm a kickboxer. On September 3rd, she came to my fight, and she dropped me off at home.
That's a lie.
If you say it again, what I'm going to do, if you interrupt Miss Jones, again, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dismiss your claim, and you'll pay for these vet bills yourself. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Go ahead.
She didn't like the people that was at my fight there, and so she had a couple drinks. She got to my house, and she started to fight with me, and I tried to remove myself from the fight, and then she started getting violent. So then I called her family to come pick her up, and they showed up maybe an hour later. In that hour, I tried to remove myself to another room. She went and got scissors and started to cut my shoes up. Then I had to try to grab my shoes and scrap and go into the opposite room, and she came in there and was trying to fight me. All the while all this happening, I'm recording her on video to make sure that I'm...
You have that recording?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Caption, coming up.
This would be me asking her just to leave. This whole thing is out of retaliation.
What are you about to do? Why are you hitting me in the face?
Record me? Because I want my dog.
Fighting me. She won't stop fighting me. I've asked her to leave.
Explain that to me.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jasmine and Joshua.
Jasmine Jones is accusing her ex-boyfriend, Joshua Caldwell, of owing vet bills for a French bulldog. Joshua is countersuing, claiming Jasmine assaulted him.
Okay. You have that recording?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
This would be me asking her just to leave. This whole thing is out of retaliation. Why are you hitting me in the face?
Record me? Because I want my dog.
Fighting me. She won't stop fighting me. I've asked her to leave. Your stuff is in bags.
You're such a... Josh.
Okay. There you go again. There you go again. On camera hitting me.
Jasmine lunges at the camera.
On camera. You see her hitting me? There you go.
Explain that to me.
I wasn't dropping him off. We were still...
I don't care what you're dropping off. Explain that video to me.
I was pushing the phone out of my face because he had me on live and was saying my full name. He cut off parts of it.
No, I just want to know what happened here. This was clearly you were going after him. I don't know whether you...
knocking the phone out of his hand because he was saying my full name, saying I was crazy. I had already packed my stuff. I was leaving. We walk in the house. He calls me a dumb bee and then goes straight to the bathroom. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna leave. Like, I'm not gonna deal with this. I had Scrappy by my side. I was packing what I could, taking it downstairs. I walk back up. He goes, oh, you're leaving? And he snatches Scrappy and locks him in the bedroom. And then when he goes to open the door is when I barge in. I'm just like, give me my dog so I can leave. And
well, I want to know what the violent stuff was about.
He was recording me, saying my name.
He was recording you.
Saying I was crazy and I wouldn't get out of the house. And I was like, stop recording me. And I was just hitting the phone out of his hand. I never once put my hands on him. He's already hit me and choked me in the past, so I would not go there to provoke him to hurt me again.
Did you ever report to anyone that he hurt you?
I told my mom.
Did you ever report?
No, I didn't.
Mr. Caldwell, were you injured?
I mean, I'm a fighter. I'm not gonna...
Were you injured is my question.
No.
Her family came?
Yeah.
The police were not called. You called her family instead. Did you pick her up? Stand up, please. You're a mother?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And this incident happened on what date when he called you?
It was about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
On...
Shh. Don't interrupt. On what date?
Labor Day.
Did you go to Mr. Caldwell's home?
Yes, I did.
What time did you get there?
Probably almost 4.
Had Mr. Caldwell ever called you before with regard to picking up your daughter or that she was... No.
No.
So this was a first?
Yes.
Now, when you got there, I want you to describe what you saw.
She was crying, she was upset, and I told her, come on, let's just go. And she said, no, I want to get my dog. I can't leave my dog here. He's been violent in the past. I've seen it. I told her, don't ever leave him with him again after a beach incident where he, like, hit him. I mean, he's a kickboxer, like he said. He doesn't hit the dog like a normal person would just tap a dog. No, this was back in July. He was a puppy. He was a baby. And I was so furious when I saw that. He only did it because the dog snapped at him, because he was angrily packing him up into a dog carrier.
Would you do me a favor? Would you describe to me your daughter's condition?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Describe to me. You have to understand. Your daughter cannot get the dog. The dog does not belong to the defendant.
Okay.
The dog belongs to Mr. Wright.
What happens to the $1,310 she spent for the dog?
Well,
she sent that money to him.
I have to tell you something. I don't see anything in your daughter's evidence that suggests to me that any payments that she made to him had anything to do with the dog. Anything to do with the dog. Mr. Wright was very clear. He said he received $700 for the dog. There were 2 payments that were identified in his register as payments for Scrappy. There is absolutely nothing in your daughter's register that she gave me of these odd payments of $160 or $70 say Scrappy on it. Not one. So I've already made a determination of where the dog is staying. The dog is staying wherever Mr. Wright wants the dog to stay, because he owns the dog.
Okay.
Understand?
Yes.
So now that's your daughter's case. I finished that part of the case. What I want to know is he has a counterclaim, and his counterclaim was that your daughter, while in an intoxicated state, assaulted him. Some of that I saw on this video. Some of it you saw on the video. Mr. Caldwell was honest because it doesn't look as if he was injured as a result of that. And I'm absolutely not discounting the fact that no one should put their hands on somebody else. But an assault requires an injury. And so if this is is that dog sleeping?
No,
that is so funny.
He grunts all the time.
That is so funny. So, Mr. Caldwell, can you show me what damage you allege Miss Jones caused your property? That's the next thing. You said an assault, which never happened because there was no physical injury. Would you mind telling me, please, what property specifically and photographs of that property?
I'll have it.
Okay, so your counterclaim's dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,600 for the vet bills that she paid or is obligated to pay on her credit.
It's not assault unless I get hurt.
Yes, it's not an assault unless there is an injury.
So if I was
that it's an
drunk, beating
attempt.
her up at her
Just a
house?
second. That's an attempted, sir. It's an attempted assault. Do you understand? If an assault has a specific definition, I believe she probably attempted to assault you when she touched you in an unauthorized manner.
She was punching me in the face. That's not a...
Show me picture of any injury. Show me. No, I didn't see that in the video, sir. I saw her lunging towards you. Do you understand? I saw her lunging towards you. I didn't see her hit you. I didn't see a photograph of any injury. I didn't see a police report where you reported any injury.
Report incidents with her being drunk and fighting other men.
Oh, okay. Did you understand what I said? An assault requires injury. An attempted assault does not. And attempted assault is a crime. But it's a crime which I choose, because of the circumstances here, not to consider and not to award you any cash award because you were not injured in any way. So unless you have photographs of the pair of shoes that you say she cut or something else, I'm dismissing your counterclaim. We got it? Good. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,600. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
Scrappy was not just like a dog or a pet, like he was my support.
I mean, it was fair. Obviously, she had nothing to do with the dog.
It's expected because he lied the entire time that we were together.
And that's a lie.
Him not to have given him any of the money that I put towards Scrappy.
She literally just got all the transactions that we've ever done between each other on Venmo or Zelle and brought that to court.
Now I just think like he was pocketing that money the entire time.
And that's why it was dismissed, because it wasn't valid at all.
Sarah.
So I disagree with you a little bit on the countersuit of the assault charge. I have a more common law. So assault versus battery, as far as I learned, was assault was just the imminent threat of a harm. You're fearing for your life or offensive contact of some sort, whereas battery is the actual offensive touching. There has to be some sort of contact. So if we're ruling by common law, which I know we're not bound by any particular state's jurisdiction, I would have awarded him something for the assault claim.
My training is in New York, and in New York there is no crime of battery. My training was
wages and filing a false restraining order.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Case 2140, DeTorres versus Young.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. DeTorres, according to your complaint, you did some work for the defendant as a plumber. Didn't work out, and he terminated you, and he owes you some wages.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says that while your work in the beginning was okay, you were never an employee of his. You're an independent contractor. That's the way he sets it up, and he's going to explain that to me. That he paid you your wages, even though the last job that you did cost him an awful lot to repair. He was not happy with the quality of work that you did, and his counterclaim is for vandalism, something that happened with his truck, work hours lost due to your incompetence. That I'm not going to hear, sir. You know, you make a choice with an employee, and if it turns out to be something that is less than satisfactory, then you let them go. But the one who I assume suffered from what you call lack of quality work that he performed was the person that you were working for. Was that a private residence that he was doing work in?
Yes. Yeah, a bunch of
that's
private residents.
Yeah, that's the person who suffered.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so we're going to make this as easy as possible. From what days to what days did you work?
I worked for Chad from June 13th to August 3rd.
And how much were you supposed to be paid?
For those 3 days, $840.
And that's for 3 days' work?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you say June 13th?
Yes, ma'am.
To August 3rd?
Correct.
Well, that's more than 3 days.
No, his wage he owes me from August 1st to August 3rd is what he did not pay me for.
Okay, and where did you work during those days?
Multiple residents.
Okay, do you have any sort of a call log from him?
I do. It's right
Okay.
here in my
Do you
short.
dispute that he worked from August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd?
Yes.
You dispute that he...
There was one day he actually did one of my jobs for a couple hours that day.
Doesn't matter. He has a log.
Half a day for one day.
Did you pay him for that half day?
I did not because the job was done incorrectly multiple times.
But he did that job. Okay, now, do you have a log?
As in?
It's some sort of a work log. You have a business. You have people who are general contractors. You get a call. You don't have a payroll because you pay these people independently. Do you pay them in cash or check?
Both.
Well, how did you pay him?
Sometimes it was through a cashier's check and sometimes it was cash.
Okay, but never through a company check where you deducted Social Security.
No, because I 1099 all my employees, so they're all self-employed, so they have to do all that on their own.
I do understand. I mean, you're not the inventor of this whole system, sir, of paying in cash. Okay. Are you one of those independent contractors?
Yes, ma'am.
Stand up. How long have you been an independent contractor? with him?
I've been contracted with Chad since July 5th.
Of what year?
This year, 2022.
Oh, so short term.
Yes, ma'am.
Does he pay you in check or cash?
No,
look at me.
Check it first, and then later on it became through Venmo, and then it's gone back to check now.
What kind of check?
Cashier's check.
Just a straight cashier's check with nothing taken out.
No, ma'am. No, I go to my bank to get all that.
What?
I go to my bank to get the cashier's checks, and sometimes I Venmo him the payment too, just to pay.
I understand, but sir, you're not the first person who I know who pays their people in cash and says that you're independent contractors. You're independent contractors. I don't want to know about it. What name do you use for the cashier's checks?
My personal name.
Is this the first time you've worked for him?
Yes.
Okay, let me see what you have for August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Where did you work? Come on.
There were multiple residents, ma'am.
Well, you have to tell me so that he can answer. He said that you worked half a day that he didn't pay you for.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's say that's a full day. So that's $200.
Okay. See, he would email it on his work phone, and I'd follow the addresses there.
Well, then you would have
write
it on
down
your
my
phone.
short notes
Just
on
a
this.
second. Then you would have it on your phone.
It was his company phone. He took it back when he came to my house unannounced and told me that I was fired. Redeemed his truck. Got my tools out of his vehicle.
Okay, just a second. Do you have your phone?
I do. I have my personal one that I.
What about the phone that you took from him?
No, that one's actually broke, so it's been with Mo for the past week.
Let me see the notes that you have that you took.
Yes, ma'am.
Jeremy hands a notepad to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
Fascinating.
It's my shorthand, ma'am.
How do I know what dates these are for?
It was all on his phone, ma'am.
Well, that's not him to have to prove, sir.
I wasn't able to prove anything when he took his phone back. I just had that's the notes when I was employed for him, as I wrote down.
It's not helpful to me.
Yes, ma'am.
So far, the only thing that he's acknowledged is that he owes you a day's wages.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is $210. The other part of your complaint is a false restraining order against you.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you file a restraining order against
I did.
him? Do you have a copy of what you wrote in your restraining order?
I do.
I'd like to see it.
Chad hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
So what got me that restraining order is he called and made threats and made
Was
threats.
this after you fired him?
It was.
Okay, so after you fired him, he called you.
Made threats.
Well, what did he say when he called you?
Just basically talking about I'm going to come to your house and everything.
He wanted money.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
He said, you didn't pay me.
Yeah.
Okay. You say you got a text message and voicemail from Jeremy threatening to come to my place of residence.
Yes.
Can I hear it?
Yeah. Do you want me to play it, or do you want to look at it?
I want to look at it.
Okay.
So, Mr. Torres, did you, after he fired you and came to your residence, took your house, did you call him threatening to come to his house?
I did.
You did?
With the police. It says it on these text messages, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to take his phone and those text messages.
Kevin brings documents and Chad's phone to Judy.
There's more text. That's just the one where he said he'd send me my money.
That's the voicemail, if you want me to play it for you. Sometimes the transcription doesn't work.
Yeah.
You want me to play it?
Just.
Sarah presses a button on Chad's phone.
Hey, bro. I definitely worked more than 9 hours for the last week that I worked for you. I'll be contacting my... Play with me. I'll show up at your house.
Yeah, that's a threat.
With the police.
Just a second. That's a threat.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I've had more.
That's a threat.
I
Just
had
a
more incidents before that as well.
May I say something, ma'am? He accused me of going into his gated community, slashing tires on his work vehicle. I stated that I was going to come to his house after, if you read my text, I said to him, hey, bro, I think I misunderstood your text message. If I did, my bad. If not, I'll show up at your house with the police. I never went to his house. I waited to see if he'd be the big man and just send me my money like he said he would.
I listened to the message, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
The message sounded threatening.
Did you read the rest of them?
I don't care. That message sounded threatening.
Caption coming up.
Where does it say here that his tires were slashed?
In my mind, somebody writing that against me, flattened tires, what else would it be?
But you have to understand that that's not what this says.
And later today.
I was financially struggling.
Well, you weren't living together at the time.
No, she would periodically come over and
yeah, but you weren't living together at the time. So how would she find out that you were in financial trouble?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jeremy and Chad.
Jeremy DeTorres claims his former employer, Chad Young, owes for unpaid wages and filing a false restraining order.
Okay, that message alone, if he felt threatened because you were going to come to his house, and you not only said you were going to come to his house, but you used an expletive before you did that, which sounded threatening. This may be more benign, but that phone message was sufficient for him to file for a protective order against you.
Okay, why didn't he show up at the protective custody order?
I don't answer your questions.
No,
you don't necessarily.
Absolutely.
Some people don't pursue it because once it's done, it's done.
It wasn't done.
And once it's done,
this is the dismissal right here. Dismissal for the
No,
job.
I didn't show up. I understand he didn't show up, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
But I'm saying to you, I listened to your text message, and he had an absolute right to see.
Can you see where he threatened me as well with all these back and forth texts and calling each other? Because it's in the text
You're
messages.
suing him for money owed for wages and filing a false restraining order.
Okay.
You've proven that you worked an additional day for which he didn't pay you, which is $210. He has a counterclaim. Yeah. He says that you vandalized the tires on his car. The rest of it, I'm not dealing with, sir. You picked this employee. You don't then sue the employee if you don't like the job that they do. You fire them and you get somebody else to do the job. But you can't sue him because did the person who you did the job for sue you?
No, because I've got a really good reputation with my customers.
Because you fixed it. Because it wasn't done right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even up to that last day I said he worked for me, that job I had to go back to 2 weeks ago that they couldn't close on the house.
The next time you won't hire him. Yeah. Maybe other people won't either. But I want you to tell me about the tires. I want you to tell me what proof do you have that he had anything to do with your tires? When were the tires slashed, flattened?
So the police report was done Friday when he made the threats.
Friday, what's the date?
I got the date right here. I think it was
August 5th.
Yeah, so August 5th is when he did it.
August 5th is when
the police report was made for the threats.
For the threat, for the voicemail?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so it was the end of the day Friday, so court's closed for the weekend.
August 5th?
Yep. And then Monday, the 8th, I went outside to go to work. My tires were slashed in the end. At that point, I realized it was just over and done, and I need to go down and get a restraining order so people can't come onto my, my property.
Because you believed it was the plaintiff who was responsible. You believed you didn't have proof at the time.
Yes.
You didn't have proof.
Again, and even in my injunction, I knew all I needed was this police report to get the injunction, so I just put in my police report.
You're not talking about an injunction. You're talking about a restraining order.
Yeah, the restraining order. Yeah.
Okay.
I went to file the restraining. So in my restraining order, I put just my tires were flat. I did not put my tires were slashed at any point because I knew the police report was enough to get the restraining order.
Okay, your
tires
were
flat. So I didn't go in detail about my tires.
Okay, so in the police report, you have that your tires were flattened.
No, that wasn't on the police report because that didn't happen yet. The tire incident did not happen.
Okay.
That happened Friday. Monday morning, I went out in my vehicle to go to work. That's when I found them flat and slashed.
Did you file another police report?
That's when I went and filed the restraining order that day. And I have
Okay,
a
and in
copy
the
of that
application for restraining order, you said?
that my tires were flat, and that was it.
Yes, okay.
I didn't mention that they were slashed.
Correct.
So I don't know how he would
Got
know
it.
my tires were slashed if I didn't mention it on my restraining order.
I don't know. That's an interesting question. Mr. DeTorres. Mr. DeTorres, stop your paper fluttering.
Okay.
What made you think that the defendant's tires were slashed rather than just the air let out of them?
Because I read this police report and it has a mark right here saying, or the file that he did.
Show me. And make a
It's
circle.
right here. Damaged property is what I read. He checked that I damaged his property because this is written against me.
Mr. DeTorres, do you understand my question, sir?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. I'm nervous in the
Just a
flight.
second.
I
This
had no
has
sleep.
nothing to do with nerves,
You're
Mr.
right.
DeTorres.
Well, I had no sleep last night.
That has nothing to do with sleep.
As far as not being...
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
What I'm asking you, Mr. DeTorres, is where does it say here that his tires were slashed?
In my mind, somebody writing that against me, flattened tires, what else would it be? He lives in a gated community.
Well, that could
Where's
be
the surveillance showing me that, that my leg injury, the way I walk, is very distinctive? Okay? If he's got proof that I slashed or flattened his tires, I said slashed. It's the same thing as flattened in my mind. That's the way I think. The way I read that, that's just how it came out of my mouth.
But you have to understand that that's not what this says.
Okay? It says that I damaged his property.
He said damaged his property, and you said slashed tires.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
How much were the tires?
$450.
Let me see the receipt.
I do not have a receipt because I pay cash for my tires.
Well, that's too bad. You better stop paying cash, sir. You can pay cash for tires.
Yeah.
But when you buy tires with cash and you want to sue for them, you get a receipt.
Yeah.
From the people. And if you know you're coming to court, we're not talking about things that happened 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You were coming to court today.
I went back to the tire shop and he's like, we just, we always do cash for all your vehicles. And
Well, what do we
receipts, no,
cash
nothing.
for all your vehicles? That means you get a receipt. All right, your counterclaim's dismissed because you have no proof of anything. On the complaint, sir, I'm awarding you $210, which is 1 day's pay. Thank you very much. This case is over.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Chad, then Jeremy.
The work just wasn't up to the quality that he promised he was going to offer.
It is what it is.
That's just his nature. That's always been his nature.
The judgment is what the judgment is. She felt like I was only awarded a day's pay, and that's what she gave me.
Keep doing what I do. That's all I can do every day.
Judy and Sarah.
Well, Sarah Rose, that is the perfect example of you're supposed to have proof when you come to court.
Yep. Standard of proof exists for a reason.
I know that when I go someplace, and sometimes I pay cash.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you pay cash for something,
There's some
or Venmo,
record. Venmo
you're
is a good
supposed to
record.
get a receipt in the event that you want to use whatever you bought and use that fact that you purchased something in a subsequent lawsuit.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as sending a gift. If you send somebody a gift, you keep the receipt until you know that they got the gift.
Yeah.
Then you take it and you throw it away. It's just
good bookkeeping. It's good record keeping.
And he's a business guy.
Yeah,
he's a business guy.
supposedly.
Didn't make sense to me, but clearly plaintiff was somebody who has a little trouble.
Yeah.
Kevin.
Case 2137, Wise versus Light. All parties, please step forward.
Caitlin Weiss is suing her ex-boyfriend, Cody Lipe, for unpaid loans.
Ms. Weiss, the defendant was a boyfriend of yours for a period of time.
Correct.
And you allege a couple of loans. One from 1.5 years ago, the balance of a $200 loan, he paid you back $100.
Yes.
Quite frankly, I'm not interested in what happened 1.5 years ago.
Caption, coming up.
What you say is, I need time to catch up.
It was a verbal conversation.
Well, what's in writing is you saying to her, I can make payments to you. But the thing that you don't have in writing is where she gave the loan. Is that right?
Cody nods and shrugs. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Caitlin and Cody.
Caitlin Weiss claims her ex-boyfriend, Cody Lipe, is refusing to pay back loans she gave him during their relationship.
Okay, in March of this year, you allege that you gave him money. He was still your boyfriend in March of this year, is that right?
Yes.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
And in March of this year, he had gotten a car. What kind of car did you get?
It was a Buick Regal.
What year?
A 2004, I believe.
Where did you get it from?
I got it from a private seller.
How much did you pay for it?
$850.
Needed fixing.
Yes.
And you didn't have money for parts,
I did for the first round of parts.
but you didn't for the second?
After the first ones failed, I did not.
And how much did you need for parts?
That I don't remember.
Who bought them?
Miss Weiss did.
Did she buy them on a credit card?
I believe so, yes.
And you have no idea what you paid for those parts?
I don't remember.
But that would be in March of 2022.
It would have been in April.
Did you pay for the parts by credit card?
Yes, I paid between Cash App transactions that were transferred to Mr. Leip through Cash App, which I have present here.
I'd like to see proof of them. What do they total?
They totaled up to $920.
Does that sound about right, Mr. Lippy?
That's about right.
Okay. And tell me about the discussion that you had with her when she paid for these parts.
There was a discussion of how I was going to pay her back.
And what did you tell her?
I did agree at that time.
And then what happened?
There were then later discussions as we were still in a relationship and I was in financial troubles that she told me not to worry about it.
This 920 was a loan in April of 2022. That's what you say. It was in April, not March.
Correct.
And then you say at some point she forgave that loan.
Right.
Tell me when that happened.
Shortly after the car got back together, which would have been in May. I was financially struggling.
Well, you weren't living together at the time?
No, she would periodically come over and
yeah, but you weren't living together at the time. So how would she find out that you were in financial trouble?
I mean, we were at that state in our relationship where she knew basically my financials all the time.
When did the two of you break up?
I believe that was in June.
So shortly after you say she forgave the loan.
That is correct.
Did you ever forgive this $920 loan?
No, I did not. Brennan Black was there the day that I had confronted Cody at a car meet and had offered him a short little payment of $790 where Cody said he would do it in payments.
Just a minute. You broke up in June.
Correct.
He says that you had a conversation before that, sometime in May, where you knew he was in financial difficulty. Did you ever have that conversation with him?
No, that is incorrect. I do have statements here to prove it as well.
I'd like to see them.
Caitlin hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews a transcript of a text exchange.
So then you said he owed you $970. He had been giving you some money?
Yes, he had been giving me
It says, so that puts you at $670, okay? That's what you wrote.
Correct. He had been giving me money periodically throughout the beginning of the car parts.
Okay, but it says, so that puts you at $670, okay?
Yes, there's more transactions on the Cash Apps as well.
Oh, after that?
Yes, correct. Sorry.
No, sir. What you say is I need time to catch up. There's no forgiving here unless you have some...
It was a verbal conversation.
Well, what's in writing...
Right.
What's in writing is you saying to her, I need some time to catch up. I can make payments to you. All of that is in writing. But the thing that you don't have in writing is where she forgave the loan. Is that right?
He shrugs.
Yeah. $920. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done here. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Cody, then Caitlin.
It is what it is.
I think it was fair. Mr. Leip did owe me money, and he got what he deserved.
Yes, she lent me the money, but at the same time, she was helping me out in a relationship, and she knew I was struggling.
He said he was going to pay me back and never followed through even after that.
There were discussions about her telling me not to worry about it.
Not to trust so much.
I'm never going to do it again.
Oh, that's going to be a contract.
Judy and Sarah.
She was very prepared.
Oh, she was to the point, knew exactly what she needed.
And she had all of her evidence.
Yep.
All
just the way we like it.
All lined up. It's unfortunate when a loan becomes a gift and a gift then becomes a loan when the romance is over. These writings are always so helpful, and these text messages really are making my life much easier.
And one thing that I mention a lot is with Cash App or Venmo, always state if you're paying someone money, don't just send the money, put in the subject line. They have a subject line on those for a reason, for this car part, for this tow, for this XYZ, the other. So I always, when using Venmo or Cash App or something like that in an online transfer system, I'll send the money, and then in the transaction, you can...
For property damage and stolen belongings.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin.
Hello, Judge. Case 2121, GN versus Pine Jaum.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judy turns to Carlos.
Mr. Gwilyn, you rented a room in a house that you were renting or that you own?
That I was renting.
It's a 3-bedroom house, and you live there with whom?
At the time, it was me and my sister, and then my cousin.
How long have you been living in that house?
I was living there previously with my sister for about 5 years, and then she then moved, and then it came over to me in 2020.
So you've been living there for 7 years?
About 5 years, yeah.
When did you decide to rent a room?
She came to me around early May, saying that she was going through a situation with her previous roommate.
That would be you.
Sorry, Nyjah, yeah. Sorry about that.
How did you know her?
We worked together as servers. But then she came to me on the job saying that she heard that I had a room available and that she was going through it with some of her previous roommates before. She said she needed some place to stay, so I told her that she could stay with me until she got on her feet.
Is that the conversation?
No.
Okay, so let me hear your version of the conversation.
So someone did tell me he was renting a room. I did need a room for rent. As we all know, COVID did happen, so I wasn't in my place I had stayed previously. I was moving. And so I went to him and I said, hey, I heard you had a room for rent. He's like, yeah, girl. And I'm like, yeah. So I could pay, I can move in now, basically. Because I came to him May 31st, moved in June 1st, which was the next day. And he was like, yeah, girl, just pay $800 a month. Just give me $1,000 to move in. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. I'm like, all right, for sure. It's like, it'll be month to month, and that was it. It was never like till you get back on your feet. It was never like a helping hand. I paid to move in with him.
He never said it was a helping hand.
Well, he did just state that I was going to be staying there until I got back on my feet, which was never the case. I was staying there.
But you needed a room.
Yes.
Okay. And the rent was $800 a month.
Yes.
And he asked you for $1,000 up front as security.
Yes.
And when did she move in?
She moved in on May 30th, Your Honor.
When did she pay you for June's rent?
Immediately. So the day that she moved in is when she gave me the money.
So she paid June's rent?
Yeah, she did pay June's rent, yes.
And what about July?
She paid for July's rent as well, yeah.
And what about August?
She did pay for August rent, but she does owe me for utilities. She's about 2 months backed up on utilities.
What about September?
We weren't there for September because the altercation already occurred on August 27th and 28th.
Okay, so she was there for 3 months and she paid you for 3 months.
Yes, ma'am.
Your complaint is that there was an altercation, and at some point during her tenancy, she brought in a boyfriend who's going to uncross his arms.
Yes.
Who was living with her.
Mm-hmm.
And when was that?
So she told me previously to her moving in that she did have a boyfriend and that he would be there from time to time. I allowed it. During his stay and while they were there, they were always arguing. It was like commotion, like every other night. He would punch holes in the wall. They would constantly get into fights. So what happened to how this whole thing got about, one day I had came home and I actually have the messages here.
Those are the messages you had on your phone?
Between me and her man, yeah.
Okay, may I see those?
So he was
May I see
standing
them,
outside
please?
of the building. I came home around.
Just a second. I have to read them first.
Yeah.
Kevin brings Carlos's documents to Judy, who reviews them.
I don't understand what this is.
So I was pulling up to my house around 7 a.m. in the morning. He was outside sitting on the steps crying and smoking a blunt. He walked up to my car asking if we can have a conversation. I said, sure. He gets in my car, we're talking. He tells me that him and Nyjah just got into a fight. Nyjah kicked him out again.
He and his girlfriend got
Yeah, he and his girlfriend Nyjah had gotten into a fight.
This was on August 27th.
Yes, August 22nd, yeah. So we had the conversation. He told me that Nyjah...
What were you doing look at me. What were you doing out at 7:30 in the morning?
So me...
No, just...
Me and Nyjah, like the night previously, we had went out together. We got in pretty late. We were out drinking. We did get into a situation, but it wasn't a situation...
I just want to know what you were doing out 7:30 in the morning. That's my question.
I was just leaving and walking to my car.
Did you have a conversation with Mr.
We had a
Guillot?
brief 2 to 3 minute conversation.
Okay, but you had a conversation with him. Now, you had an argument with your girlfriend the night before, you just said. What kind of an argument did you have with her?
It was basically, we went out, we were trying to have a good time together. It didn't really kind of end up the night how I wanted it to go. She felt how she felt. It was never an argument of, yelling at her or like we were going at it. It was just like...
Well, you had been out drinking.
Yeah.
And when you were out drinking the night before, did you have any altercation with your girlfriend while you were out?
No.
So you had the altercation with her in the house?
Yes, in an apartment.
Okay. Now, he works nights? What were you doing?
Nights and days, yeah. I'm a server bartender, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, he wasn't home when you were having these fights with this argument with your girlfriend?
Not even an argument, but no, ma'am, he wasn't
He
home.
was not at home. And when he came home that morning, you were outside?
I was walking to my car.
He was outside on the steps crying.
I wasn't
Just a
on the
second.
steps.
Sorry.
Wasn't on the steps.
Just a
Didn't
second.
even have a
Sorry,
phone.
You have to understand, I move slowly but methodically.
Got you. Sorry, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, do you work?
Yes, I do.
Where?
Security.
Security for whom?
I lied.
What time do you report to work on the 27th?
On the 27th, I went to work late because of the situation that had happened previously that day with the cops, and we have the text messages of me texting my supervisor.
What situation previously that day? He wasn't home. So what situation previously that day?
What happened previously that day was that
Previously what day?
earlier during the day, he had...
That was 7:30 in the morning. You hadn't seen him.
I'm having my...
Wasn't the 27th?
That wasn't the 27th when that happened.
On
We
the
had the
22nd.
conversation on the 26th. Early coming back, it was 7 that day because we had got into it. I didn't see her at all after me and her had our little falling out. I'm walking to my car. We have the conversation. I go home.
You went home for what?
He said that I was living with her. I was never living with her.
You were.
You went home for what at 7:30 in the morning? What did you go home for?
To sleep.
To sleep. So what you're saying is it wasn't on the 27th, it was the 26th.
This altercation that happened with me on the steps, it either was the 26th or the 25th, but this happened way prior before the day on the 27th. The 27th is the day where the first police incident happened, where there was the actual dispute over him and her. He said that she didn't pay the first month's rent, which we have in the police report.
Okay, I've already determined all the rent was paid.
Right, but he has the dates wrong because the 27th is not the day that we got into the altercation.
What was the date?
It was the 22nd.
It was the 22nd.
2nd of August, 2022.
Yeah.
And I'm off Mondays and Tuesdays, so I was off. I went home to sleep after I left the apartment.
So on the 22nd, Your Honor.
On the 22?
Yeah, on the 22, which is a Monday morning at 7:30. I pulled into my garage. He was outside crying.
So it wasn't on the 27th?
No, it was on the 22nd, yeah. 22nd in the morning, yes, ma'am. It was 7:30 in the morning. He's sitting there crying. I come in. He asks, can he come in my car to talk to me? We talk. He tells me that him and Nigel got into another altercation. She hits him. He stops her from doing what she wants to do. He said that Nigel expressed that she's talking to other people and that she just wants him to leave her alone. He then asks me, do I know about her dealing with any men or anything? I tell him I've only seen her with one guy. It was some light-skinned dude who she went to the bowling alley with. But other than that, I didn't see anything. I told him, with me being 25 and him being 20, I said, you're a young man. You have your own car, you got a place, you're doing stuff. You should be living life. You shouldn't be, getting beat or dealing with all this stuff. Just be young and live your life, That's when he then...
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have that sort of a conversation with him?
Not at all.
Okay, tell me
The
what...
conversation was 2 to 3 minutes. I never entered his car. I was walking out.
No, tell me what you said to him.
I told him that me and her got into it. You might not see me around here. I don't know what the situation is. And he did tell me, focus on yourself. Y'all will be good.
Okay, so it's pretty much, so whatever. That was a discussion. You had a fight with her on the 22nd, and there was some registering some complaint. Sir, if you say you might not see me around here, we had an argument, it was registering some sort of a complaint. You didn't leave there happy on the 22nd.
Yes, sure.
Is this... Right? You didn't leave there happy.
I never was upset, like how he's trying to make it seem. We didn't have this conversation of me being beat on or me crying.
You didn't leave... Mr. Jim, you didn't leave there happy that morning.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's correct.
You had an altercation with her the night before or earlier, and you stopped and had a brief conversation with him. I don't have to get into the nuances of it. You weren't happy. Okay, that's the 27th, and you say you told him you're a young guy. You don't have to...
live your life, yeah.
Live your life.
And then he then thanks me in those messages that I gave you right
Okay.
Caption, coming up.
Would you tell me what you know with regard to the vandalism?
Once I opened the door, I seen shattered glass all over the floor. His room was completely vandalized. There was a knife in the wall.
Can you explain these photographs to me?
I can't explain the photographs. I didn't do it.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Carlos, Nija, and Gallo.
Carlos Guillen claims his former roommates, Nija Pine, and her boyfriend, Gallo June, vandalized his property. Nija is countersuing for a false arrest, tire damage, and cyberbullying.
Now, 22nd moves into the 23rd, 24th. Anything happened the 23rd, 24th, 25th?
The 26th, I had got a phone call from one of my friends saying that Nyjah, at the place that we were working at, was going around telling people that I was trying to sleep with her boyfriend, saying that I'm trying to make him gay and that I go for straight men.
Just a second.
All this stuff.
Just a second. That's all hearsay, by the way, unless you have a witness to that.
Yes.
And I assume that you could have a witness to that if you like. Did you, Ms. Pine, have any conversation at work with any of your colleagues about discussions that the plaintiff may have had with your boyfriend?
Yes.
Okay.
Your Honor.
Do you remember who?
It's actually another coworker.
Coworker.
A mutual friend between us.
Okay. And without going into the text of the conversation, were you registering complaints about Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Okay.
Your Honor.
That's all. That's all that's
So
relevant.
with that being said, that following morning on the 27th, I then walked up to her room around 8 o'clock because, you know, she's living in my house. I'm helping her out. She's talking about me at my place of business. So I went up there to go ask her, you know, what's going on, what's happening. The moment I go up there, she's like, you're this and this and this. We start arguing at this point. Like, we're both yelling at each other. It's getting heated. She then tells me that she's going to have some dudes come and beat me up since I want to argue with a girl and all this stuff. Men then come to my home. 6 dudes come to my house.
How much later after the conversation?
This is probably like literally 10 minutes after the conversation. Like, this was very fast. She had these men come to my house. I saw one of the dudes outside. I was trying to, you know, go outside and just be like, look, I'm not trying to do anything to her. We got into an argument. I'm hearing stuff. Gallo, out of nowhere, comes from a corner and tries to swing at me. Once he does that, I then go inside my house, I go into my room, and I look at my window, and it's 6 men outside my home. She then lets these men inside the house. They're banging on my door, talk about bring your outside and all this stuff. Oh, you want to fight women, da-da-da-da. All this mess, banging on my door and stuff.
Was anyone else in the house other than the two of them?
It was my cousin with me at the time.
That's not your cousin.
No, this is my witness, Imani. It was my cousin at the time.
A witness to what?
A witness to the next day, Your Honor. But back with this day, my cousin was with me. He wanted to go out and fight and do it. I said, no, we're going to sit here and wait. The police end up getting called from the neighbors because it's 6 men outside banging and cussing and making a scene. The police then get there. There was an officer who, I don't know if she already knew previously or who she was cool with, but the officer said that because I'm a 6'8" man and she is a woman, she feels intimidated by me and all this stuff. So he told me that the men who were there is allowed to stay there because she is a tenant there and that's her place, so they're considered her guest. Once that was said, Your Honor, I immediately got everything that I could and I booked a hotel at the Westin. I stayed there at the Westin for 9 days. That day, she was going around on social media saying that I was scary and that I ran in my room and that I called the cops, just basically talking smack about me on the gram. Hold on, Your Honor, I'm trying to find it.
If I may interject, if I may.
Not yet.
All right.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. But she went on social media. It's
Okay,
like,
just a second. So was what you're telling me you don't have that unless
It might
it's
be in that file, yeah, sorry. But it's like a message of her saying like, oh, y'all won't believe who caught the police and ran in the room crying and like just talking smack, Your Honor.
Okay, here it goes.
Yeah, that's what she posted. Once she posted that and, you know, people start hitting me up.
I see it.
Yeah. Once she started posting that, people started hitting me up. They're like, what's going on, and this and this. So I then went on Instagram and I had made a comment. I called her for short, stands for because she was going around saying that I was dirty. She went around telling me that I was dirty, so I just let it be known on social media that the only thing dirty was her. You know, since she was talking about me on the gram, I decided to, you know, react.
The truth of the matter is, although it's not pleasant, that's what people do on the internet.
Yeah.
And
I was just matching energy, you know? Yeah.
Got it. Let's get to your lawsuit, sir. So far, she's lived there 3 months and she's paid 3 months rent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Your claim is that during the time that you were in the hotel, when you were out of the apartment, there was damage done to the property.
Right.
Do you have photographs of the damage that was done to the apartment while you were out of the hotel?
Yes, ma'am.
May I see it, please?
Here you go.
Carlos hands photos to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews images of vandalized rooms.
Where did you go when you finally left the plaintiff's house?
After I got my U-Haul, he dropped me off to my uncle's house. And I stayed
On what date?
So I went there the night of the 27th, August 27th, 2022, and I came back the next day on the 28th to get my things.
Okay. So he left on the 27th, you left on the 27th after he did?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you leave as well with your girlfriend? Correct. Where did you go?
I went to my grandfather's house where I was staying
And how long have you been staying with your grandfather?
all my life
Where do you live now?
with my grandfather.
And where do you live?
With my uncle.
When you finally got back into your house, Mr. Gwillian, this is the way you found it.
Yes.
On what date did you come back? Did you find it this condition?
That was August 28th, Your Honor.
August 28th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I had woke up to a whole bunch of phone calls from my witness, Imani, and a family member saying that they were there, they saw the place.
If you want to stand up?
Yeah.
Imani rises.
Would you tell me what you know about what happened on the 27th/28th of August with regard to the vandalism?
I wasn't there the 27th, but we had a conversation that led to me coming to the apartment. So I came to the townhouse, retrieved the key to get inside of the house. Once I opened the door, I seen shattered glass all over the floor. His room was completely vandalized. There was a knife in the wall, but this was all like downstairs. Once I realized—
I'm going to show you these photographs, and I'm going to ask you if these photographs are a true and accurate representation of what you saw when you walked in on the 28th.
Kevin brings the photos to Imani, who reviews them.
Yeah. Yes.
May I have them back, please, Kevin?
Kevin returns the photos to Judy.
Have you been to Mr. Gwillian's house before?
Yes.
Was it always in good order?
Yes. He's a clean freak.
You moved out on the 28th for how long?
I moved out on the 28th. I didn't come
Permanently?
back after that, yes.
Permanently?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you seen these photographs?
Yes, I did. Actually, his family member sent them to me.
Okay. Can you explain these photographs to me?
I can't explain the photographs. I didn't do it.
Okay, fine.
I wasn't there, actually, and I have proof I wasn't.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
Just a second.
Yeah, okay.
Just a second.
It's crazy.
She may not have personally done it. The question is, he certainly didn't do damage to his own property.
Oh.
There is no, well, if you have proof that he did
I have
damage
proof,
to
Your
his
Honor.
own property, then I'd certainly like to see it.
Caption, coming up.
I do have proof I was not there, and
I don't care whether you were not there or not.
Okay.
He can't show me he wasn't there, and your brother is not here, and he can't show me he wasn't there. So I have to decide if it was a stranger, the plaintiff, or this side, maybe not you, but someone acting on your behalf.
Carlos smirks. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Carlos, Imani, Nija, and Gallo.
Carlos Guillen is accusing his former roommate, Nija Pine, and her boyfriend, Gallo June, of destroying his property. Nija claims Carlos had her falsely arrested and damaged her tires.
Right now I have damage.
What I would like to say—
No, I don't want you to say anything. I want you to tell me what proof you had that
All right, I
he
would like
damaged
to say,
his property.
I would like to restate, I have proof that he did not care about the apartment, that when I moved in, it was in horrible condition, actually, and he's not a clean freak, and I wasn't there to vandalize the apartment at all.
Oh, just a second. I just asked you a question. Can't you give me an answer? It's a simple answer. You said to me, I have proof that he vandalized his property. Is that what you said?
Well, I have, Your Honor, if I may.
Just a second, I want to make sure that that's what you said. I have proof that he vandalized his property.
His property was vandalized when I moved in, is what I'm saying.
Oh, no, madam.
And I did—
Oh, just a second.
She says, I have proof, Your Honor, he damaged his own property.
Okay, so all I want you to do is show me proof that he damaged his own property.
Okay, so I do not have video proof of him doing it, but based on my countersuit and the fact that I was falsely arrested and the harassment, the lies, even the online post that I haven't been able to show you yet, that he is framing me and that he did vandalize his own apartment, he didn't care about it.
Just a second. I'm willing to look at proof of any proof that you have that he vandalized his own apartment.
So around the time—
Not so around, just show me.
Okay, sure.
Nija with documents.
So what I have in my hand here, Your Honor, if I may,
Kevin,
is this proof that before I moved in, the apartment was not well taken care of. And like I said, I don't have proof that he went in and did it himself, but I do have proof that the apartment was never cared about to begin with. And after he actually moved all his things out, which he claimed and stated on social media, he took all his valuables.
You can take these back. This is not what I'm talking about, madam. That's a dirty bathroom that you showed me. This is vandalism.
I didn't do
There is no question in my mind that this is vandalism. This isn't dirty house. It's disgusting. Somebody took powder and liquid. This isn't just sloppy and messy. This is clearly vandalism. So is that all the proof that you have? You said, I have proof that he vandalized his own property. I'm waiting to see that proof because otherwise there are certain things that ring true.
Well,
do you have
as far
any?
as that goes, I would like to recant that because I don't have proof that he did it, but I do have proof that I'm being framed. Yes.
You have to understand, Ms. Pine, there are two things. Either he vandalized his own property, which I find is unreasonable because he would have to live with all this filth that's in his bed.
Well,
he had to, I'm
didn't have to
speaking.
live with it.
I'm speaking. I would have to find that he took a knife to his own sofa and destroyed the cushions to his own sofa. And quite frankly, I don't know this gentleman well, but he does not appear to be psychotic. Now, I don't say that he may not be a truth teller all the time, but he doesn't appear to be psychotic. So no person who's not psychotic does this to themselves. So either some stranger in the night came in and vandalized his property, or you, your boyfriend, and or your brother, who, didn't you say that you called your brother to come?
I called my father.
Your father to come?
Yes, and my father
Just-
called my brother, and he came.
Just a second.
Yes.
I knew I heard brother in here. Did
Yes,
your
but I
brother
didn't call
come?
my brother.
Okay. Called at least brother. I don't know if father came too. So I have to find if it was total stranger, the plaintiff, or you, boyfriend, father, brother, friend, whatever it was. So all I'm asking you to do is, do you have any other proof other than the nonsense that you gave me?
each other. It's getting heated. She then tells me that she's going to have some dudes come and beat me up. Gallo, out of nowhere, comes from a corner and tries to swing at me. She then lets these men inside the house. They're banging on my door, talk about bring your outside. All this mess, I immediately got everything that I could, and I booked a hotel at the Westin.
Claim is that during the time that you were in the hotel, there was damage done to the property.
Right.
This is the way you found it.
Yes.
Can you explain these photographs to me?
I can't explain the photographs. I didn't do it.
This is vandalism. Somebody took powder and liquid and broke mirrors, and quite frankly, I don't know this gentleman well, but he does not appear to be psychotic. Do you have any other proof that he caused this serious vandalism of his own house?
I do not have proof that he caused it, but I do have proof I was not there, and
I don't care whether you were not there or not. So I have to decide if it was a stranger, the plaintiff, or this side, maybe not you, but someone acting on your behalf.
And now, the conclusion. Carlos Guillen claims his former roommate, Nigel Pine, and her boyfriend, Gallo Jume, vandalized his property. Nadja is countersuing, claiming Carlos had her falsely arrested.
Okay, so if there is no other proof, what?
May I interject, please?
Sure.
Over the situation that he's trying to say that happened on the 27th, that even led to the whole craziness that we see in the photos over the vandalism, is a lie. And in his police reports, I don't know if he'll show you the police report or anything that happened, details and dictates everything of what the situation is.
May I see the police report?
He came to
Do
her.
you have the police report?
She has.
I was not able to get the police report because I am listed as a suspect. I'm not a
Let's
victim, so they wouldn't give it to me. But if I may interject, because
I'm reading something.
You're gonna need more information to understand.
Judy reviews a document. Images of the vandalized townhouse.
These are all pictures of your room.
Yes, ma'am.
Ransacked.
Yeah, my room and then the living room as well.
The living room sofa, but this is your room.
That's my room.
This is your bed. Yes, you wanted to say something.
Yes, so Your Honor, as far as the room goes, I just want to add that there were multiple people living there. I moved in June while him and his family member went through an eviction process in April. So multiple people found out that we had to leave randomly. And so I wholeheartedly believe that someone else did this.
That's not true.
I can't
Don't interrupt her.
Sorry.
show you proof that he did it. To be honest with you, I don't know who did it, but I know I didn't. And I know he was with me as well. And
What about your brother? Was he with you?
my brother is,
I'm just asking you.
No.
What about your father? Was your father with you?
No.
Okay.
My father...
Just a second. I just asking you. The plaintiff said that there were 6 other people that came to the door, other than your brother. Who else came to the door?
No one.
Okay, so your brother just came alone.
Yes, Your Honor.
And when he came, was the plaintiff still there?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And he stayed when the plaintiff left?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, go through the timeline with me. He came because you called your father called your brother because you were having difficulty, okay? And your father sent your brother right over and said, you better get over there. She's having difficulty with this guy. You go over there and straighten it out, whatever it is. How old is your brother?
My brother is 22.
22.
Mm-hmm.
Big, little...
He's slightly taller than me. He is more built, maybe like the size of the bailiff, a little shorter.
Just a second. Okay, good. So when he came over, and you let him in?
No, he did not come in.
He did not come into the house at all?
Not until Carlos opened up the door.
Just a second, I'm asking you. He came into the house. Carlos opened up the door. Mm-hmm. Did your brother come into the house then?
Into the house, no.
Did he just stay in the front?
Yes, Your Honor. He stayed in the doorway.
Okay. There came a time that day that the plaintiff left the property. He went to stay at a hotel. He did not come home on that night of the 27th.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's clear. When he left, where was your brother?
I have no idea.
And I don't believe that your brother left you alone there before he left. So you have to understand, if your father sent your brother to be there to protect his sister from him...
There are things missing. And if you would allow me, I would like to tell you what actually happened that day, at least from my perspective, because it was never he left immediately. What happened was he came into my door at 7 o'clock in the morning, banging on my door, which I have a photo of the hole he put in my door, threatening me, asking if Gallo was inside of the room, and he wanted to fight me and Gallo because Gallo told him to leave us alone. And he sent threatening texts to Gallo saying, I'm gonna beat you up and we could fade and bucko this, bucko that, all this. And he's like, you know, like that. I called Gallo like, hey, Carlos is banging on my door looking for you. He's like, yeah, I know. I saw the messages. I'm on my way. And I'm like, okay. So we're arguing. He's at my door. I call my dad because I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen. And he's like, oh, he gets upset. So he calls my brother. My brother, he happens to work in the West Side as a security guard. And he's like, well, Pops just called me. Do you need me to stop by?
I understand all that.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
So after he gets there, sees Carlos outside, I go downstairs after Carlos goes to his room, and I talk with my brother. And he's like, well, what's going on? And he's like, why he don't want to come outside? And yes, my brother was very upset because I told him, like, you know, this man was threatening me.
That's hearsay.
Yes.
That's hearsay.
So,
okay, let's understand something. This all came about, pay attention. This all came about because the two of you work in the same place. You had been living in the apartment for 3 months, and there had been no other police incidents up until this time, for 3 months. This incident, according to what I'm putting together, happened because after your boyfriend Gallo left and had a conversation with him about arguments that you had had with him, which you're not going to tell me about now because you're going to tell me that never happened. That's not something people make up. And he said he got into your business. That's what you felt. He got into your business.
No,
and
Your Honor,
just
that's
a
how I
second.
felt.
Just a second. And then you were talking about it to people where you both work. You acknowledged that you were talking to people about it where you both work.
Yes, Your Honor.
He got angry that you were bringing stuff that happened at home to work, and he came to confront you. That's
no, Your Honor, that's not. I have text.
That's exactly. Just a second.
What happened.
That's exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened.
He came to my door because of these text messages. These text messages are time dated. He came to my door because he messaged him.
While I was at work over a dispute, it might have been about whatever the coworker said. He basically came to her door in his boxers.
No, listen to me. I'm making it simple, Gallo.
Gallo shakes his head. Caption coming up.
And so he texts Gallo, said, hey, G, I'm not fucking with her no more because she has an attitude problem. Gallo told the plaintiff, I see what you want, like you're a hater. And Carlos responded and basically said, I want to fade, I want to fight. And that is the morning he came banging to my door, which caused me to call my dad.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Carlos, Nija, and Gallo.
Defendant Nija Pine has accused her former roommate, Carlos Guillen, of getting her falsely arrested. Carlos claims Nija vandalized his property when he was gone.
It started because you told your girlfriend about the brief conversation you had with him. After an argument, you say no, you're not going to say yes. Now you're still together, right?
We're
yeah,
but
still
that's
together.
Not the issue of
okay,
why
and
here where we're at.
And she got annoyed because the person that she's renting a room from, who she works with, is telling her boyfriend, listen, you don't have to stand for that. You know, you got your whole life ahead of you. You know, move on with it.
Your Honor, that is not what happened.
Oh, really?
I'm begging you to listen to me.
Just show me.
He's not that type of person.
Gallo, if I may. So, what I have in my hand is a message where he came.
Just show me. Don't read it.
May I?
Kevin, get the message.
So, if you see it the first on the top page at the bottom, that message was birthed from him coming to my door while I was doing my hair and telling me to send him. He wanted to talk to. He had his boxes on. He wanted to talk to me.
Just a second. What is this supposed to tell me?
I'm telling you right now, and then you read the message. I'm going to tell you the story that led him to say that last message. Because what happened was I'm sitting in my bed doing my hair, minding my business. He walks to my door with just his boxers on, speakerphone with a female. He's like standing there in the doorway, and I look, and I'm like, what's up? I'm like, what's up? I'm like, all right, well, let me know when you're ready. And I closed the door in his face. Like, I closed it because he has his boxers on. He's standing there, and I'm minding my business doing my hair. So I basically tell him, you know, let me know when you are ready to talk because you're standing here in your boxers like I'm good. And so when I opened the door after, he's like, all right, I'm ready to talk. He basically like, I'm not with your attitude.
Just a
you
minute.
Don't slam the door in my face and all this other stuff. And so he texts Gallo that message you see there, say, hey, G, I'm not with her no more because she has an attitude problem. But I was upset because he was standing at my door in just his underwear. And so he texts him that. And then the next series of messages, you'll see Gallo told the plaintiff that basically you need to mind your business and I see what you want, like you're a hater. And Carlos responded and basically said, I want to fade. I want to fight. And you'll see those in the messages. He said, I want to fight. G, ain't got nothing to talk about. You're weird. All this buffoonery, the threats.
I don't have dates on this. Is this the 27th of August?
Yes, that is that morning.
The 27th of August.
That is that morning.
That's that morning.
And that is the morning he came banging to my door, which caused me to call my dad. He came to my door looking for Gallo to fight him.
I'm done with this case. I'm done. I'm done. You have a counterclaim.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm going to hear your counterclaim. Right now, this is a disaster, including the cutting up of the couch. There's no question that all of those items are worth $10,000. Now we're going to hear your counterclaim. And your counterclaim is that you were arrested falsely, tampering with tires, lost wages, and cyberbullying. I've read the messages. They're nasty. People say nasty things. That's not cyberbullying.
No, there are more.
Well, I want you to circle the ones that you say was cyberbullying. Cyberbullying. Give her a pen, please, Kevin.
Thank you.
Kevin brings a pen to Nija, who circles images of text messages.
Don't give me anything that's not circled.
She hands the documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
Are you still living at the house, sir?
I have keys to the house, but
that's
I'm
not what
living
I asked you. Are you still living there?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I'm reading through these text messages. You said you can't fight stupid with stupid. Instead, I chose to remove my items and kick back in a 5-star hotel until my new place is ready.
Yes.
So you were moving into a new place.
I was, Your Honor, yes.
When did your lease start?
It would have started on September 10th, Your Honor.
Is the place furnished?
Not fully, Your Honor. No, I did get a new bed. That's about it as far as furniture and a dresser and like just the stuff I was able to save that she damaged at the home.
Just a second, did you take the sofa?
No, I did not take the sofa.
Did you buy a new sofa?
No, I have a studio, so it can't fit.
So it doesn't fit?
No.
Anyway, so you were moving. So you purchased a new bed. Do you have the bill for the new bed?
Not on me, Your Honor, but it's
Well,
the
that's
same.
what, you know.
Yeah.
She may have destroyed all this stuff, but if you weren't taking the stuff with you anyway because you have a studio apartment,
Right. Yes, ma'am.
you had to buy a new bed. I could understand you not having this bed.
Right.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's not cyberbullying. Any of this is nasty, but it's not cyberbullying. He does say in these emails, he came crying to me at 7 in the morning talking about how she beats him, calls him names, and says she wants him out of her life. I simply told bro not to worry about himself, to move on, just like any person with common sense would. This trick decides to go around my job and tell people I'm dirty. I don't pay my bills, and I'm trying to blank her man. All right, so I've just stricken cyberbullying. You have a bill for the bed, sir, and if you don't, I'm going to allow you to tell me what you spent for it, because so far the $10,000 is coming down. How much was the bed?
$5,000, Your Honor.
Show me.
I didn't bring the receipt for the new bed. It was just for that bed that she damaged. Because I have a Kelly King now. She damaged my queen. So I have the comp for the queen bed that it was.
Well, I'd like to see that bed, which I see here, so you're going to show me a comp to this bed. Okay, let's move to false arrest. Well, you were arrested in part for vandalism, is that correct?
No, Your Honor.
Well, that's what the police report says.
Well, honestly, I haven't been able to see the police report, but I know that based on what officer gave me, I was arrested for theft.
Okay, what I'm telling you was the police report says he reported that the suspect vandalized property, also that property was missing from his bedroom, but he is clearly accusing you of vandalism. And the report says a report of theft. But the officer clearly arrested you probably for both charges because the police report says vandalism, and I find that was a legitimate arrest.
No, Your Honor.
That's what I find.
Okay.
Caption coming up.
And I go to my car to go to work, and all 4 of my tires were flat and bolts were missing.
So were the tires flattened and slashed?
To be honest, I don't know, but they said there were holes in it and they weren't patchable.
I don't believe in serendipity and coincidence. This is far too coincidental.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Carlos, Nija, and Gallo.
Defendant Nija Pine has accused her former roommate, Carlos Guillen, of getting her falsely arrested. Carlos claims Nija vandalized his property when he was gone.
Did you find that for me?
Yes, I have an image of it, Your Honor, so sorry. Here you go. That's the mattress that she damaged.
Carlos hands his phone to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews a price list.
So you had a queen or you bought a split king, is that what you're telling me?
Yes, I bought a Cow King, yes.
Okay, so that was $3,000.
Yeah.
Okay. And you left this bed here, or what did you do with it?
I had some people clean it, so.
You had what people clean it?
I called my maintenance people who helps out with the house and stuff, and he got some of his crew, and they cleaned out and cleared out the whole apartment, Your Honor.
Cleaned out the whole apartment?
Yes.
What did they do with the bed?
I believe they trashed it, Your Honor. I'm not sure.
You don't know. Do you have a bill from them?
From them, no, Your Honor.
You don't have anything. I mean, what is it that you have? You don't have a bill for a new bed.
Yeah.
You have a bed that you say is comfortable. You don't have a bill from the people who cleaned out the apartment, because I assume somebody had to clean this apartment.
Right.
If you were moving out.
Right.
Well, right, I know I'm right. All right, I'm getting more disgusted with this case at every turn. Strike $10,000. Tell me about your tires. When did you find your tires
So the
tampered
27th,
with?
after the police left, after we agreed to peace, I went upstairs to go to sleep.
He was still in the house?
Yes, Your Honor.
On the 27th?
And when I woke up, I was getting ready to go to work. I noticed the electricity was off, which in those papers I gave you, he stated he turned off the electricity.
Yes.
Electricity was off. Everything was gone as well. Like, not everything, but like weird random things, like the microwave was gone. It was like a PS4 and like some like game setup thing that was gone.
Okay.
Like all of the valuables were gone.
So he had taken some of his stuff out because he was moving.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he moved. Are you telling me he didn't move? Didn't move?
Not yet. No.
Oh, he's still there.
He was still there. But
I mean, today, now. Is he there now?
Oh, no, Your Honor. But he was still there. Like, his things were still there.
Some of his things were still there, but he took some things with him.
He took.
When he left on the 27th.
What the things he claimed was valuable. Anyway, so I go downstairs and I go to my car to go to work because, like I said, I didn't think this would go any further, to be honest with you. And all 4 of my tires were flat and bolts were missing out of my tires.
You have photographs of that?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Are these repeats? Oh, this is one with the timestamp. Thank you.
Nija hands photos to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews images of damaged tires.
And he was not there?
No, Your Honor.
So were the tires flattened and slashed, or were they?
To be honest, I don't know, but they said there were holes in it and they weren't patchable at all.
So there were holes in all 4?
Your Honor.
Do you have the bills for 4 new tires?
No. I paid cash. I should have.
That doesn't mean whether you paid cash or not. It means we're not talking about.
I
we're
wasn't
not
thinking
talking
about it, but I do have a receipt for the tow.
The tow I will take.
Which I ended up having. So we used Gallo's AAA, and it was his 4th tow, so he wasn't going to be able to get another one after that. So I ended up
just
paying him for the extra tow, which is $90. And then I bought 4 new tires.
Well, I can't help you with the 4 new tires because
okay.
what you
I'm
come
fine.
here for is to prove to me any element of your claim. Right now, the plaintiff has not proven all the elements to his claim for $10,000. I believe he had to buy a new bed because that bed was destroyed, and I've already indicated who I believe is responsible for that. I do believe that he or somebody acting at his bequest, because I don't believe in serendipity and coincidence. This is far too coincidental. The damage to the home was far too coincidental to your argument with him, and the damage to your car is far too coincidental for me to be comfortable with. So I would, if you had a receipt, and we're not talking about years ago, we're talking about recently that you say you had to buy 4 new tires. Well, whether you pay cash or check for tires, you can get a receipt. And if you know you're coming to court, you're supposed to get a receipt. The same thing I'm telling you.
I didn't know I was going to court. I thought it was all over with, to be honest.
Very, very good. Judgment for the plaintiff on the complaint. My original order was for $3,000. From that, I'm reducing it by $90, so it's $29.10. Judgment for the plaintiff that disposes of the counterclaim. Thank you very much. We're finished here.
This court is adjourned.
Nija and Gallo.
He never lived there.
I
We don't
never lived
argue
with
like
her.
that.
We never argued. It never was a problem. He's basically, his issue was with her.
She's a hater, to keep it real with you. She assumed that I was trying to sleep with her man when I was just giving him evidence, so.
We have DMs, messages. He came to me talking about her, and I addressed him. That's my girlfriend.
Yeah, I mean, there's text messages of him thanking me. So it's kind of weird how that played about, but I don't know.
He's tired of her, he's annoyed, and I'm like, that's not nothing that you should be telling me. You guys don't need to talk. She stays on the 3rd floor, you're at the bottom. Leave her alone.
I definitely did respond, letting him know that, if you're gonna go around saying that I'm trying to sleep with you and spread all these lies, then we can definitely have a conversation face to face. I did say that, yes.
But he's already been treating her like this from the jump. And that's why I messaged him to basically leave her alone.
They definitely damaged his house. I've seen it for myself, so it's unfortunate how it ended, but we know the truth.
Honestly,
I don't want to hear from him ever again.
Sarah and Judy.
I think you were right that there was far too many scenarios that lined up a little too perfectly around the same argument for it to be somebody else.
Some other dude did it. I'm sorry that the plaintiff didn't tell me he moved and was, in fact, moving within a couple of days into a studio apartment. That would have been interesting information to have right from the get-go. I don't know why I didn't have it. It just would have gone to the extent of damages. I mean, if he had to buy a new sofa, and certainly from the vandalism of that sofa he needed, but he didn't need a new sofa. He had a studio apartment. That doesn't give somebody the right to vandalize your property and to break things.
But the law is allowed to use common sense in determining damages, and I think your final ruling on canceling out the defendant's countersuit with the plaintiff's too large of an ask for damages was the right call.
You think so?
I think so.
You know.
I wish she had the receipt for tires. You could put two and two together that, okay, clearly.
Oh, I saw the photographs. The tires were clearly flattened, but you don't know if they were flattened as a result of somebody taking the plugs off them and just letting the air go out of them.
And without a receipt or without a mechanic's note.
Really don't know.